feel sorry for him after that,
Hey,
yo. We
peace,
gotta come
peace,
save him.
peace, 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 peace and love, peace and love, peace and love. This brother Garfield. This is the final for Black History Month Scholars 20 for 20. And I thought I would bring the best of the best in the African American community. So I said, hey, let me bring the squad in here because Amenra squad has been the prototypical, I should say, what's the words I should use? When you talk about the highest level of scholarship in the African American community, we look at the Amenra squad. They up there. They might not be the number one, number two. We're not dealing with top 10 dead or alive, but they up there. You're talking about Dr. Mayat. You're talking about Asari Motep. You're talking about Naya Amara. You're talking about Unquest. You're talking about Jonathan Owen Smash Rockwell in the building. And of course, my brother Sanjeti not in the building, but shout out to Sanjeti too. You know, Jedi in the building also. I know he's probably watching or he's probably busy. But all right. So today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to introduce you to these guys, and each of them are going to tell you why they do what they do and why they love it. But we're going to have a build on different topics that they want to talk about. I'm giving them free reign tonight. I'm giving them free reign. Why are you guys considered the Amenra squad the best of the best? Why shouldn't we look to somebody else? We're not gonna call no names. Young, yeah, what's his name? Young, whatever. Why shouldn't we turn to folks like those? What's so special about the Amenra squad, and why have you guys held this status within the African American community for so long consistently? Whoever want to answer first.
Now you know this is this is your question, so go in and torpedo this, man.
No, it was a need to allow real voices to be heard in the situation. And so, based off what I know about everybody on the panel, man, serious individuals. And I knew for a fact that if we didn't have some type of methodology, if we didn't have some type of real professionals with education, that we was in trouble in the conscious community. So I literally got put out the conscious community, you know what I'm saying, for bringing in the squad. That's what really happened. So I can't recall the last time we've been part of that, but we needed some serious thinkers that wasn't going with the narrative that one, the white man is superior in what he do. We wasn't thinking that. And two, we'll use anybody's work if it's right. And I know for me personally, having conversations with Asar and just dealing with the way he was thinking, and then meeting Dr. Mayat and understand the way she was thinking and talking to Naya, and just people, period. Sanjeti Wuja, it made me realize, yo, that man, it's another level to this. And so I just wanted to really wanted to introduce the community to what I found in other human beings that loved Africa but wasn't afraid, you know what I'm saying, to use everybody's work, white, black, green, purple. I felt like the community was just stuck in a little corner, and I just didn't see John Henry Clark, Hubert Harris, Dr. Benham. I didn't John Jackson. I didn't see them being stuck. I kind of learned evolution from Dr. Bennett. He quoted certain white authors, and it was weird for me because I was in a cult, right? And we went Blackology 101. So for me to get out that box.
Hold on. You chipped out for like a quick 2 seconds a while ago. Is there something with you're moving around? Is there something going on with your signal?
I don't know.
Chipped out for a quick 2 seconds.
You hear me now?
We're gonna be on for a while. All right, go ahead, do your thing.
So no, I'm just basically saying that it was refreshing to get a fresh look at the situation. You know what I'm saying? To be able to use all the scholars' work. And I never forget Asar told me, he said, I was naming some books. He was like, yeah, that's just a start. I was like, the hell this nigga talking about, man? I'm talking about Diaz, I'm talking about Dr. Ben. He talking about it's another level. So, it's refreshing as African Americans, man, to one, be proud of being an African American, and then two, be proud, to have ancestry in Africa. And I think, that's what separates us from everybody else. Somebody else can join in. Saw?
Yeah. What made you guys come together to tackle this on a whole? And what makes you guys so good? I remember coming on trial. Without you guys, I don't know what would have happened.
That was smashed. Go ahead.
Yeah, it basically came as a result of what you would call divine accident, if any such thing exists, because you have to go way back before 2010 on the Blog Talk Radio. Myself and Brother Unc had two separate shows on Blog Talk, and it was only a few of us in total, who were bringing any kind of serious information. And so Unc had a show with Sister Nikki Love and a bongo, and then I had my show, in a separate arena. And so I would, do what I've been doing for years, interviewing scholars and talking about different topics or whatnot. But, Unc, of course, likes to debate and argue with folks. So for some reason, he attracted a lot of Hebrew Israelites. And when the Hebrew Israelites would come on, I would come on and join into the debate, since I was a former Hebrew Israelite, specifically with the Israeli Church of Universal Practical Knowledge, now called the ICUPK. And so for a lot of that doctrine, I already had a background and knew where they were going. And so, and then, of course, with my Africana studies, I could counter those arguments with other types of facts. And so more and more people came on, your Sanjettis, your Ujawus, and others. And then it just kind of organically formed in around that time. So I think I ended my show in 2010. Then a few months later, that's when Unc starts the actual Amenra Squad Blog Talk Radio program. And so when I had time, I would go there, and it's just kind of an organic. It wasn't nothing that was just kind of super planned, but it's just like, when the rubble fell, we were the ones standing and bonding with each other to fight against misinformation, which started for the most part with the misinformation about the Hebrew Israelite stuff. And, as I can see, even with this 20 for 20, a lot of the scholars that have been interviewed is still fighting that fight about the misinformation from Black Hebrew Israelites and the poison of ignorance, into the society. So that's essentially, and just kind of grew from there. So when we see individuals who have that zeal for knowledge and adheres to a strong methodology and thinks critically or whatnot, we put them through the fire, and they come on board, and we kind of grow like that. So hope I answered the question.
All right. Smash. You know what? Let me get Naya in here. Go ahead. You know what? Let's Smash. Go ahead, Smash.
Peace. Do my mic sound clear?
Yeah, you good.
Yeah.
Good.
Peace to the squad. How y'all doing? It's been a while since I've seen a lot of y'all faces like this. I hope everyone's well. But I don't know what Asar was talking about. I was the first and only one had to walk through the fire. Everybody else just got slapped on the squad so easily. They put me through like a 3-week series debate. Let's make sure he's serious. Like, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just joking. But honestly, everything he said was right on point. And one of those first fires they lit, I had to hop on them coals and make it through the other side. I think I was drawn. Believe it or not, I was following a lot of these people, Asar and other people publicly on other forums for years, even all the way back to the Blog Talk days, just like he's talking about. But I didn't feel qualified to dialogue with people. You know what I'm saying? So I just stayed quiet for a few years until I started hearing stuff that was wrong to me. Then I was like, okay, I'm at the level now where I'm hearing stuff that I know better than that. Now I could call into the show, but the show again was just like the brother mentioned, it was before the Amenra Squad show or the destruction of the Black civilization show. It was actually that Nikki Love show where I started first getting the heart to call in. And, it was cool. And I don't know, I think I learned a lot dealing with trying to live up to the standard of the Amenra squad. I know I'm a black man, so I can do anything it takes. I got the propensity. Ain't nobody gonna outwit me. I've been doing that for the longest. But I've learned how to execute other things that I didn't know. Obviously one of our catchphrases is proper methodology, but I had not even heard nobody put any type of emphasis on that before dealing with the Amenra squad. And so taking that and then applying that to other fields of my life, you know what I'm saying, helped me out a lot.
Sister Naya, I tell everybody you're not here just for your looks, okay? Please emphasize that, please.
Whatever. Of course, people know that I'm here because my heart is here, and I want to have an opportunity to build with everyone. I think how I got involved with the Amenra squad is just really having an interest in racial stuff, like racial identity, biology, evolution. And I got a chance to talk to Unc, and Brother Unc was passionate about evolution. And, you know, he did put me through a test, you know, for months and months. He sent me all type of articles, but I think that, you know, the real reason I'm here is because I like to argue like Unc. So,
yeah.
And so I was, you know, he kind of put me out there to argue, and next thing I know, I was just arguing with everyone. So, but my background is, until Asar one day told me to stop arguing so much and learn how to read and hear what people are saying. I was like, okay. So I'm here because I have an interest in like Black psychology. And when I started to like smash, like when I started to like listen to a lot of what the Amenra squad had to say, Dr. Ma'ad, Asar, Sinjeti, Wujawu, I mean, just the level of detail that they bring to the conversation is something that I aspire to do. So I just wanted to be a student and learn as much as possible, so I can be able to be articulate and tell a story in a way that brings, you know, a narrative for Black people to share. So I'm all into Black psychology and just really creating those narratives that help us to develop a collective consciousness. And for Amenra Squad, it has helped me to develop the discipline to be able to do that.
That's what's up. Let me get Sister Dr. Mayat, the movie lady, man, the movie lady. Come on up, man. You up?
You funny, the movie lady. You're funny, Garfield. But peace and love to the panel, peace and love to everyone in the chat, peace and love to you, Brother Garfield. When I was listening to everyone's story, I couldn't help but to think that the common thread was the Black Hebrew Israelites, you know, battling the misinformation that was being disseminated by the Black Hebrew Israelites. In 2014, one of my little cousins, he used to come over my place a lot. And he loved Black News 102. Oh my goodness, he loved Black News 102. So he came to my place. He said, "Cuz, you gotta watch this platform called Black News 102." So he would come over, and I mean literally like two to 3 days out of the week, he would come over, and he would bring a couple of my other cousins, and he would turn on Black News 102, and we would sit and we would listen to, you know, the discussions that you know, Sinetta was having at that time. So you know, at that time you had your Polites on there, and he was battling the Hebrew Israelites, and so I would listen. You know, I was listening. I can't lie. I got addicted. I got hooked. And so even when my cousin wasn't there, I found myself going on to Black News 102 listening. And I remember, and I'm not going to say his name, but there was a Hebrew Israelite who he was a guest on Sinetta's show. And the misinformation was just terrible, and I couldn't take it anymore. And so I remember, I don't know if at that time Sinetta was dropping like a telephone number or a link to get on, but I remember getting on and going at him. And I actually called in a few times and went at that particular Hebrew Israelite. And so it got to the point where it was a brother named Courtney that used to be on the platform. Courtney said, "We need to set up a debate between you and this particular Hebrew Israelite, and we can do this debate in Atlanta." He said, but before the debate, he said, I want to introduce you to a brother. And he said, I'll introduce the brother Ankh West, or brother Ankh. And I remember he called brother Ankh on a three-way. And brother Ankh, I thought you were very arrogant when I first met you, by the way. I thought you were very arrogant when I met you. And he introduced me to brother Ankh, and brother Ankh and I connected. I found out that he was from Baltimore and where he grew up, and he was trying to help me out with the debate. I'm talking to him about stuff I'm looking up, and he's sharing things with me, and we going back and forth. And so I remember June of 2014, I drove down to Atlanta with my family, and he met us down there. I drove down there, I think on, what was it, like the day before the debate.
Yeah.
And the day before the debate, hung out with brother Ankh. And then I believe that Saturday we had the debate. And what was the other Hebrew? Not the Hebrew that I was battling, but the brother that was hosting it. What was his name, brother Ankh?
Yasharel. Yasharel.
Yes. He was the person that kind of put everything together. Him and Courtney. And I never forget, I got on the stage, and that Hebrew Israelite, he's running his mouth. And then Ankh said something to me, and I got mad, and I went up there and gave him my all. And I remember Ankh that night, I got a standing ovation. I remember
from the Hebrews.
Yeah, they stood up. And then remember, then somebody got mad. You remember that at night, somebody got mad. But and then after that, I had more conversations with brother Ankh, and he was like, look, I want you to join the squad, join the squad. And he told me what the squad was about. And what I loved about the squad is the passion and their objective to combat misinformation. And I love what Ankh said at the beginning of the discussion. He said, we study the works of all people. Even Dr. Amos Wilson in many of his lectures said, you got to study the work of all people, or else you're going to have a limited perspective. And so, he said, we're going to battle, we're going to combat misinformation, and we're going to push scientific literacy. And for those who don't know, I'm a professor at the School of Engineering at Morgan State University. I've been studying engineering since 1999. I started teaching engineering professionally in 2017. And I'm currently in the process of getting certified to work on, to represent my university during virtual exchange projects, and also we have a partnership now with the University of Ghana. So hopefully once the pandemic is over, I'll be going over there to teach maybe for a semester or two in Ghana. And so, I have a passion for teaching engineering concepts and principles, and also developing software, through the use of artificial intelligence techniques that will facilitate the learning of engineering concepts and principles. So I digress. I'm gonna go ahead and pass the mic. I feel like I've talked enough.
Yeah. So moving forward, and by the way, Dr. Maya, when I said the movie lady, I wasn't trying to downplay the fact that you make great movies. I want to say that you have inspired me, and you've inspired thousands of people, man, based off of those movies and everything. And the fact that the matter is, you're a doctor. I don't think you realize how inspirational it is for somebody to see a Black woman speaking the way you are, and you follow methodology, and over the years, people look at what you have done. You've left an imprint on many people's lives, courtesy of you being on the Amenra Squad channel, your own channel, or on Sonetta. So just keep that in mind. You are special, all right? Very special.
I appreciate your words, Brother Garfield.
One of the things that everybody has talked about since we've been on is methodology. And I noticed when I'm doing my interviews with the 20 for 20, and all these scholars, you know what they do? And Asar is very good at this too. You'll be talking about an issue, and you're not an expert in the issue. So you don't try to put yourself out there to act like, hey, I know everything. That's not my field of study, ladies and gentlemen, but I could refer you to who you need to read or whatever. And I think a lot of folks don't understand that if you don't know something, you just don't talk. There's sometimes to say, hey, I don't know. I don't know is an option. What do you guys think about that? Because everybody's running around like they know everything in this community. You know, when do
Garfield,
people shout out and said, I don't know?
Garfield, I said this years ago. Brother Ankh can tell you that I've said it. When I was matriculating through the graduate program, when I was getting my DEng at the School of Engineering, I remember our professors used to tell us that. Like, if you don't know, it's okay to say you don't know. Just say, hey, I don't know, but give me some time to figure it out. It wasn't until I came into this community, and Ankh and I laugh a lot about this. He said, when you came into the community, they were throwing eggs at you. You know, he said they were throwing eggs at you. But, you know, I noticed that it was, you know, just a lot of folks who wanted to just masquerade as experts in everything. You know, people were just expert. They were scientists. When I came to the conscious community, folks were scientists. They were priests. They were astrophysicists. They were, I mean, anything that, you know, I mean, anything literally that they, I don't know. I mean, they were claiming to be a lot of things.
At the same time, you gotta put that in there.
Yeah, at the same time.
So they were astrophysicists, priests,
yes,
medical
priests,
doctors,
medical
pharmacists,
doctors, engineers, historians. Don't leave that out. Historians, linguists. They was linguists and historians. I mean, they were all of the above. And I never heard of that, because with my training, you know, they say if you don't know something, you just don't know it. You say this is out of the scope of my research or beyond the scope of my field, you know, and that's what you say. But I just noticed in this community, you know, people just didn't want to admit if they didn't know anything. But I know that Naya can speak on that, because I'm pretty sure that's due to ego. And I'm pretty sure she can speak to why, you know, as to why these people, you know, can't admit when they don't know anything. But I think that it has a lot to do with the overinflated egos in the community. But I'm gonna go ahead and pass the mic to Naya, because I'm pretty sure she could break that down.
Yeah, so that's an interesting point, Dr. Ma, because one of the methodologies that I learned by working with Amenra Squad was Afrocentricity. And in the study of Afrocentricity, you find that there's levels to consciousness. And what happened in the conscious community is that it's kind of a subgroup of like the hip hop community, and Asar says this a lot. It's a subgroup of African American group. And so in the group, you had the founders, which was like Bobby Hemmitt and Delbert Blair and Phil Valentine. And the way in which they went about information, you saw people really doing it that way without really the knowledge, the credentials, the study, the discipline. They just kind of presented information based on kind of out of nowhere, and it wasn't based on sound methodology and practices. And so what you do is what you see is a lot of people coming into the conscious community on the very first level of consciousness, which is awareness of who I am. I mean, there's Black people, there's white people, and I feel different. And then from there, they're trying to teach when they're not ready. And you know, in African cultures, you have to matriculate through the process. You have to learn, you have to study, you have to go to school, you have to learn under elders. So here in a conscious community, because there's really no rules, you see a lot of people moving forward before they really, really are ready to do so. So that's what I see the most. That's how I look at it.
I'm like, Golfy, I wish you had like a sound effect when she said people want to teach when they're not ready.
Just go boom.
Woo! I mean, woo! I'm sorry. I'm gonna go ahead and mute my mic.
A lot of the teachers in this subculture of the conscious community, it's a subculture of hip hop culture, of African American culture, and so in that you see the foundation of people who we would say taught kind of pseudoscience, you know, where their results can't necessarily be verified, and we can't really reproduce what Bobby Hemmitt did or what Phil Valentine is saying, but people are taking that type of scholarship and using it as if, you know, it's the standard, when in fact it's not. So that's what Amenra Squad does. You know, we try to create a standard.
I would add and kind of narrow it down a little bit more, in that the what we're calling the conscious community has kind of evolved from two different paths. There is what we call the Independent African Academy, and the Independent African Academy is a group of scholars and study groups and independent schools that emerged right after slavery that were concerned, of course, with just general education, but also the study of Black history and culture. So your Arthur Schomburgs come out of that, your John Henry Clarks come out of that, that tradition, you know, even people who went and got degrees, your John G. Jacksons, your Leo S. Hansberries, your just these groups of individuals, because it was always a connection between the community, which we in modern times call the communiversity, and the academy. And so for those who couldn't go to the academy and get access to those books and things, those people from the academy would come and present lessons and facilitate study groups and things of that nature. Then, of course, you have the religious community and tradition. And it's from there that even the modern trajectory has emerged from. So you notice, as Dr. Ma'at said, for example, one thread that connects many of us is these debates with the Hebrew Israelites. They're part of that religious, philosophical community that doesn't have to adhere to rigorous methodologies and things of that nature, because it's about what you intuit, what you can get from divine revelation, and then that is what's good enough to present information to the community. And so it wasn't just them. You got to, as you stated, you know, there's the hip hop community, but those that was in the hip hop community, again, is coming from the religious community. The Nation of Islam, 5% community and rhetoric. So a lot of that, you know, peace to the gods, nurse, and, you know, all of that stuff that was real kind of prevalent in the 90s. And, you know, and these folks kind of grew up, became people of the conscious community. So you getting a lot of that rhetoric. And this has to be put into the context. And because in these religious communities, they don't have to prove things. Evidence is something that, you know, and even when you look into these religious texts, you know, when you start talking about science and evidence and things of this nature, this is anti what they're about, because it's about faith. It's about revelations and being special and stuff to this nature. So you find all of that, you know, even if it's African folks. And so I just don't want to pick on Hebrews. And so you got people from the Ifa community and other African communities like the Akan, who, you know, they'll start talking about that this is the white man science, that, you know, all we have to do is intuit and pray to the ancestors and all this other kind. So all this mix. So you got the what we call the conscious community is these really just this nexus of independent community-based education from the likes from which the Dr. Naeem Akbars, the John G. Jacksons, the John Henry Clarks, the whoever we can name from that 80s, you know, early 90s community of scholars. And then what happened is that they got older. Some started dying off. So there was a gap in the community. There's not many people you can go to get these lectures about, you know, Kemet and Africa and Black psychology and things of this nature, you know, because, you know, Asa Hilliard was getting old. He wasn't traveling as much. And Dr. Teofilo Benga went back to Africa and things of this nature. And so what that did is that left a gap And then you see all the religious and spiritual folks come in. And because they were tapping into something that the other scholars weren't. And so they were very academic in what they were presenting. But these people, we have a spiritual component to us. We want to know and see ourselves in terms of our relationship to spirit. So then when they start talking this high metaphysical science, the whole metaphysics community came in. That's your Phil Valentines, your Blairs and others who set it off. And so it was just like a perfect storm of the standard dying off and getting old and not replacing themselves. And then technology, because everybody got video cameras and they're making these tapes and they circulating. Then comes the 2000s and 2005s and 6s, and now we got YouTube, and now everybody with a phone can say anything and put it on to the internet. So we emerge essentially coming from that independent African academy, because my first training is, even though I minored in African and African American studies, is in computer information systems, continuing my education now in computer science. And so it's in the sciences in that area. But of course, I grew up in that independent academy going to those lectures with these big names. So I know what the standard is. I know what the expectation is, going to conferences and stuff of that nature. And so I would bring that on my show. That's why I interview all those scholars, so I can kind of bring that essence back of having, people who have dedicated years of their lives seriously to a particular subject and converse about it. Of course, because I don't know everything, let them talk about it. I just ask the questions. And so it is from that, of course, the Hebrews started, getting on social media and all kinds of stuff. And it's just like, no, we got to do something about this. And so that's when, we started combating it really, really strong and trying to bring these concepts like, methodology. Like I said, I don't know on a program once and got cussed out.
Yeah. So, hey, where you at, Smash?
I'm right here. Hold on. I'm right here.
So what's up with that?
Hold on. With Smash though, you had a dialogue the other day, right? With a brother about the Midgenetics.
Nah, man, I'm great. Come on, Garfield. Hold on, Garfield.
Okay.
Wait, whoa.
This was going into the same I don't know thing, but go ahead though.
Now, hold on for a minute. Hey, no, go ahead, Garfield. Go ahead. Yeah, that's a nasty word. I don't know.
It seems like you're going back and forth with someone, and if they just had said, I don't know, the conversation wouldn't have been that long. Instead of being 45 to an hour and a half, it could have been a 5-minute conversation. Somebody just said, hey, you know what? I don't know, Smash. I don't know.
You talking about on Signet TV?
Yeah.
That was an interesting build. I think we was talking with a few Hebrew brothers. A lot of us get caught in that trap. I seen when he got caught in that trap too. I really recommend that aside from all the studying we do, we should play a little bit of chess, because most of these debates are just chess matches too, but with your information. And I seen when the brother should have just relented. We were talking about the Miriam Patah stela and the so-called translation of the word Israel on that stela, and it just didn't go well. But yeah, I mean, not to say that he didn't prove a world of knowledge and and show me some things that once he keep on studying, eventually you see the light. That's why I'm happy that certain people are dabbling into the metal nature or what have you. But yeah, what about that particular situation caught your attention?
Just the fact that when the symbol of the S sound, and you basically, well, you know me, I don't know Midgenetics, so if I say something wrong, just check me right away. I'm a I don't know guy right now. All right. But that S symbol, when you broke it down, that in previous, on the same stele, it had a meaning that he never looked into.
Yeah.
Right. So he was like, oh, it straight mean L, S is L in this language, or R is L, or something to that effect.
Well, let's go into that for a little bit. And Asara be the one who could really basically back up a lot of what I'm saying. If anyone knows the story of the quote unquote Mer and Ptah Stela, it was Pharaoh Mer and Ptah. I think he lived about 12, he ran from like 1215 to maybe, I don't know, 1215 to something, but it started around that time period, maybe the 1203. But and when during Mer and Ptah's reign, he was supposedly, well, again, a stele is written after you're dead a lot of the time, or, you know, towards the end of all of your feats. So the feats of your life are generally written on these type of commemoration stelas or whatever have you. And on the Mer and Ptah stela, biblical archaeologists like to propose that there's a term, Israel, I need some water, a term Israel that was used on the stela. But it's very funny when you look at biblical archaeology is one thing, right? Biblical archaeology is one thing, but I don't know if they actually I mean, obviously, if we don't know, it was Flinders Petrie. He had his homeboy do the first translation of it, and they were very much concerned. I don't think biblical archaeology was a thing at the time, but they was very much concerned with proving that this actually did say Israel. And so one of the anomalies that happened that I was able to point out is we deal with long words a lot in the Midgenetics, and we start to learn how to identify them by the way that they're written, by the use of certain you know, ideograms or what have you, the use of certain syllables, particularly the interchanging R and L. And something, if you just like a neophyte getting into this, excuse me, I just was sitting here just doing my thing. But if you're a neophyte getting into it, you might not know so much about the differences in how Midgenetics was used from different time periods. And so something that the brother tried to point out is that the R at the end of the term, it says something like Israel arts in their translation, but they say this R shifts to an L. But we had another long word inside of the same, on the same stele, which was shalom. And if we notice, shalom has an L in it too. And it's very interesting what we find out is that whoever scribed this pen either was an amateur scribe or even didn't do things right, or a lot of what we point out didn't follow traditional rules of Midgenetics, because in the word shalom, which is sharma in Midgenetics, they used an R without a stroke under it. And then in the same, in a similar term where they use the same icon or ideogram or phonogram, excuse me, they wrote it in they wrote it in ways that contradicts what all of his sources all the way back to Flinders Petrie suggest. They suggested that this should be changed to an L because of the way that Egyptians used long words. And this is on line 27 of the Mer and Ptah stela. But what I'm trying to bring forward and what I brought forward for him was on line 25, the word shalom is used, and everything Flinders Petrie and all of his sources said about that is contradicted by the actual writing of the scribe. So I don't want to say the scribe made errors. I should say the people after him who tried to detail what was going on with that stela
translators,
yeah.
So, hey, Smash, hey, Smash, you remember though the conversation though, and that's what I was gonna say earlier, that basically when we did a show, we actually did a show on it, and the key detail was when Peachy chalked it off and how that could have possibly been a mistake, right? And I see you sent the article, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people don't even go that deep into it, where you look at the bird, which bird was it, right? When you look at the stele itself, like, man, that's not even what it's supposed to be. It's just weird how they kind of did that.
Yeah, you're right. Well, one thing we learned again, and I'll let somebody else talk about this, but it's called parsing. And parsing is, I mean, I had to learn this. I only learned it with Midgenetics. I didn't even know nothing about it in English. But it's basically figuring out, to me, and Sarah probably explain better, is figuring out where the words, what the words are, which consonants belong to which words in a script that is ran together. You see what I mean? Because if we use all vowels and we don't take no spaces, it's upon the reader to know how to parse these certain sounds and phrases or what have you, and words. And so in the parsing of that document, every facsimile that we read is parsed so that this word, this so-called word that says Israel, stands alone without the leading words that could be interpreted to let us know what that means. For instance, if you look at Petrie's facsimile of it, if you look at any facts, it doesn't go how it's written on the stela, and that's kind of peculiar to me.
That chalk, though. What about when they chalk it out? Don't forget the chalk. Let me see. You was gonna say something, Asar?
No, I was just going to say that this is one of the reasons why Jacob Carruthers, another individual, part of that Independent African Academy, even though he was in the academy, him and Dr. Raketi Amen were, and Dr. Malana Karanga were kind of really the first to really kind of learn Midgenetics seriously in the Afrocentric movement, and to teach. And then a little bit later on, Obenga came, even though Dr. Raketi Amen, you know, she went to the University of Chicago and learned, you know, at the Oriental Institute. But she also was an understudy of Diop himself, and of course, Obenga. And so, you know, these scholars really put the impression on that we need to learn the Midgenetics for ourselves, because when we rely solely on these European translators, they can get one over on us and we not know. So the whole point of studying the Midgenetics is, well, not the whole point, but a major aspect for studying the Midgenetics is so that we can address the text with no middleman. That, you know, we can go back in and say, wait a minute, where are you getting that from? You know, I look directly at the primary source and this is what we see. And so they have to have a different dialogue with you if you can read the script. But as long as you have to rely solely on others to give you the interpretation of these certain ancient texts and things of that nature, you find yourself consistently in an epistemological trap that is hard to get out of. And so that's why I like the importance of what Brother Smash is saying. It, you know, needs to be re-emphasized. You know, we go to the direct source and we examine it and we make our critiques from there.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna show this, and I want Doc to jump in here. But now you watch this. So when we put this up here, right, and this is the document you sent me, because we did a show on it and we absolutely talked about it, and it's like we did it so long ago. So if you look at it right here, it says the red contour of the engraving of the hieroglyphics suggests that of an owl, AE the letter M, and not the letter AA. So if you click it, right, here we go. So this is what they rendered it as, right? Okay, but when you do it, it really was this. So you remember the conversation we had over this. So why use the AA instead of the M? The AA going to render it where they got the Israel, right? Am I correct?
Yeah.
But it's really the M if you look at it. The point is is that you have allowed somebody else to pass judgment on what it could be, right? When you actually look at it.
And I don't want to interrupt, but I would say it's inconclusive. And we're illustrating how methodology matters, because we see their method is to line it up with what it says in the Bible. But if we take a look at, if you didn't have the outline on top of that piece of grain or basalt right there, would you be able to determine whether this was an A or M? And so that is only left up to the scrutiny of Petrie and his homeboy who translated it.
Fact. I think that's the point. And that's the point that I want to make. And that's the difference between just diving out there on your religious beliefs and actually, you know, kind of having enough mindset to look at all options. Right. So it's really
can I ask you to pull that document back up while I say a few things? If you can learn, I mean, then maybe we can you said Sister Nye speak. I just want to bring this to a close real quick. Okay, because there's some other things we need to point out since we talking about that. We were talking about the use of the throw stick. Could you go up to the point? There's a section where he's pointing out the uses of the throw sticks in this document, and then maybe we should cite who this was written by a guy named David. You go down, please.
All right.
You're gonna see
page 27.
Yeah, it turns into a facsimile part where he like reproduced it. But there it is. Now, maybe if we can make the screen bigger, I want to point out something I noticed and something he also pointed out here, and it should be noted for the Hebrews. Forget his translations, because I don't want to deal with that. Let's just deal with the what he has inside of boxes. You see a throw stick, and under it, it is a symbol for foreign land, correct?
Yeah, yep.
So on the top line, they are talking about they conquered this land. Then on the next line, they say they conquered this land, but notice the use of the throw stick when it comes around the term that is supposedly supposed to mean Israel. It does not have a throw stick over the land. A throw stick over the land means a foreign land. A throw stick in front of some people means some people we don't know, some foreigners. And so that's clearly how it's used. And I can show you in most instances of foreigners or shashu or Bedouin or whatever they want to call them, this is how the throw stick is used. So let's go to existing as ISIS-R-I-R. You see that? The people. Now you see that throw stick in front of the people who are inside of a square. It is not over a land. You see what I mean?
Right there, right there. Hold on.
And so at this, those people is who they talking about. And those people are foreigners. And that's all that really says, regardless of what the name is. We clearly can read, and we can see the distinction between the use of the throw stick when it's used in front of some people or when it's used over a land. You see what I'm saying? And so they basically didn't even have no land at that point, as he would have put it over a land like we squashed them people of Israel too. But that is what it says. But Johann had a land because it's a throw stick over mountains. Their throw stick is just in front of nomads. And if you always find, go look at in any hieroglyphic dictionary, or even you can use a text corpus and see how many times a throw stick was used in front of foreigners. It's always gonna mean something like some nomads, basically. And I'll leave that there.
Yeah, and then it lines up with the archaeology, Bronze Age, right? And so an Iron Age, and we know what they was doing. They was just hill people. It wasn't only nothing. They was like caught in between. You know what I'm saying? So they didn't have that. So where you at, Doc? Because I know you said you had a time limit on this, and we about over that. Where you at? I don't know if you gone.
No, I didn't go anywhere. The conversation got really interesting when you all started kind of going back and forth. You know, usually I would have been asleep, but the conversation got very, very interesting, and I had no idea that this discussion was going on. And so my question, Ankh, is Smash, when you all were on, was this on the did the discussion take place on the Dagger Squad's platform?
It was on Sarnetta's.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, cool. And is this a recent discussion or?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm just asking because I wanna look it up and check out what
Oh,
you
I
all are
think it's
doing.
called Jonathan and Zion or something, but we beat the brakes off like Zion and the Apostle. Or Peace to Zion and the Apostle. You know, that's just our vernacular. We beat the brakes off, y'all.
Yeah. Oh, don't beat the brakes off polite too with the 5G nonsense. He played that card. Yeah.
Oh,
And messed up the vaccine and nanotechnology. He
yes,
thought it was
okay,
robots. Yeah, they did all that. I'm not
So it was that show because you all were revisiting the Kemet on trial. And and then it kind of turned into a whole bunch of other stuff.
It was really out joint. It was really out joint because they kind of wish it was Zion. No, it was who was it, Smash?
You don't remember? It was that guy Apostle first.
No, before that, because we was on there just to kind of respond to the Hebrews trying to act like they got with us at the Kemet on trial, which they didn't.
Oh yeah, well that's right. Hashar started with Hashar and Danyala. Peace to y'all. It started with them saying that we didn't respond to their claims. But y'all know about that, man. That's silly. And really, to keep it real, I mean, we ain't the one to respond to those claims. Some of them claims are just childish and a waste of our time. And we only had to pick, like, okay, what would the community benefit from if since we here arguing with them, we only gonna respond to the claims that matter. So yeah, that's how that happened.
Yeah.
And I think that it was like a perfect thing to respond to because it brings into focus like cognitive biases, you know, and how like your perceptions can be influenced by your belief systems, and you can practically see anything that you want to see, and that's why you need methodology to help weed out your biases. So that was a perfect thing to respond to.
Yeah, that's the major difference between those who, and I'm speaking ideally, because just because someone has gotten a degree and publishes something doesn't necessarily mean at all times they follow it. So I'm speaking ideally. But the difference between what you see in the academy and what passes off as knowledge in this kind of social media open universe is that there is a care and concern for answering before someone asks, well, what about this? In other words, they're looking for, when we're doing research, we're looking for ways in which we can be wrong. And we want to address that prior to you reading it. And that is not the care and concern with the, for a lack of a better term, the conscious community. They're not looking for ways in which they can be wrong. They just, as I said before, it's intuitive. Whatever's in their spirit, they just go with it. What's in their first mind. And in the academy, you don't go with your first mind. You can go with your first mind in terms of experimentation, but you have to go through that experimentation process so that you know that you was correct in the direction in which you were initially going. Otherwise, you again, I like using that word, an epistemological trap, and you don't want to get into too many of those. And so the only way that you can really do that is if you follow some kind of scientific method. And I know, depending on the field, certain methodologies are more productive than others. But the objective is to assume that you're wrong first, and then go into your research. You always assume you're wrong. So that when people are critiquing you, like, this is another thing in the academy. From the get-go that as soon as you put this out, people are going to try to tear down your argument. It's just part of the culture. It's to be expected. That's their job. but people take it personally in the conscious community when you critique their works.
Yeah.
You know, they want to fight. They think you don't like them as a person. It's something, you know, like it's, you know, these things have to be considered as well. I'll end there.
Hey, see, that's the joke. That's the great joke. And that's why they kicked us out the conscious community. Because we was attacking the elders. And I was thinking to myself, I sure as hell ain't coming to this to sit back and listen to a bunch of old people mess up stuff. Like, that wasn't my thing. I could have did that in Baltimore, Maryland, and reigned supreme. But when I decided to change my life over, I sure as hell won't get back into the same track. So I felt like, for me, where I came from, the reason you respected an older guy because he gave you relevant information that could help you make it in Baltimore, Maryland. And when that guy was unable to do that, and he was putting you in all types of trick bags, we never respected him as an elder. We called him a dope fiend or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you was older guy and you got high, but you always brought relevant information for our survivability in Baltimore, Maryland, we never addressed you as being a dope fiend. We was like, man, that's the OG right there. And it didn't matter what he did, whether he got high or not, but he always brought relevant information. He always brought something to the table that could help us make sure we were straight. So I brought that same mentality over here. It didn't matter if you was Dr. Ben Diop's, Got the Feel Good Valentine, Delbert Blair, Shamaz, all of them. It didn't matter to me now. People around me maybe felt a different way. And for DC, I don't leave them out. So those guys, those people for me, as I put everybody through the strainer, James Smalls, right? I started to realize who was the elders and who was just fronting. And people got mad when I said it. Oh, you personal? No, I'm just saying, man, all mans are not African, dog. Like, what you want me to do? Like, what you want me to say? Like, no, that's not, I'm around Smash. I'm around Assault. You know what I'm saying, Wu Jia? I'm listening. I'm seeing it. I'm reading. And I ain't never seen Egyptians do that. And so I know me, I did a thing. I say, well, I'm gonna invent something, real black atheism. And so I know damn well what I invented. But I never said that the ancient black Africans had something called real black atheism. I never did that. So when I heard other people trying to make it seem like they came up with something that it really wasn't and something that they had made up, I wasn't mad that they made it up. I was mad that they wasn't willing to tell the people that they actually made it up. All religions are made up. All systems are made up by human beings. So I think that's kind of dope to make up Kemetic theology or whatever you want to say and draw strength from Africa. And I think that's dope. I think the whacked out part is when you lie and act like it was something that was really going on. Like that's the thing that's not right. And so when I stepped in the community, you know, I'm saying like, I ain't, look, I mean, hell, we ain't fighting around here. We just putting out the information. So for me, an elder's a person that can stand strong as he get older and willing to say when he's wrong. Or willing to say, I just don't know. Not knock down the younger generation coming up with a whole bunch of played out information that everybody can clearly see that is wrong. So for me, I always say, yo, if I'm start doing that, just get me out the game, man. Don't have me running around here looking like that. Because I always want to be an elder. And for me, an elder is a person that recognizes when they're wrong, recognize when that next generation is ready, let them do what they do. Stay relevant by staying up on the damn information. I just want to kind of put that out there. Just that simple.
Oh, all right. Let me ask you, for the next year to 2 years, where do you guys see yourself as a group, Amenra Squad, and what are you guys working on right now, presently?
No limit is the Army, better yet the Navy. Just wanted to say that. Go ahead, sir.
Oh, where I see ourselves as a group? A team that can come together at any moment. I know right now everybody working on their own thing. I mean, that's obvious. And I love that. But when the back signal go out, God damn it, we coming. So we ain't went nowhere, but you know, people done got married. Dr. Miyad stay traveling to Africa. Asal bringing back them dope interviews with people you never heard before. You be like, what the hell is that? You know what I'm saying? Naya, she got a part. I don't know if you still got that podcast, Naya. You know, Naya has her own private practice. You know what I'm saying? You know, Smash Rockwell, he like still one of my favorite rappers. I'll give you a quick story. So I was like, okay, Smash Rock Wells and Jonathan Owens, and he on the squad. And one day I just looked down on my floor and I had some old some CDs, right? And I picked up one. I said, that's goddamn Jonathan. He never told us that he was from the High Road crew. He like hid that. I was like, really, Doug? I say, Doug, really, yo?
I gotta second that. You're right. He never ever said that he was from the hieroglyphics.
Never.
So my cousin, who I got family in Oakland, California, and so my cousin, when I flew out there, because I remember Smash, he was hosting this event, and I was out there. I came out to speak with Zaza Ali at the time, and my cousin, when she saw him, I mean, she jumped up and down. You know who that is? You know who that is? You know who you rolling with? And I was like, what you talking like that's Smash, that's Jonathan. Like, what you talking about? She's like, that's hieroglyphics. They have Hiero Day, every year. And I think Brother Smash, is it in September? You have Hiero Day?
Yeah, we have Hiero Day every Labor Day. That's the event I started that event. I was the executive director of it, but I'll let you keep going.
Yeah, so she was like, they had the hieroglyph. I'm like, what? And then I looked on YouTube. I went back to a video. Sure enough, Smash is in the video.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, wow.
Well, you know what? If I would have came in talking about hip hop, that would have been another reason for SAR and everybody who was beating me up to discredit me. Like, you're just a rapper. You don't know what you're talking about. So I was like, let me not even tell nobody that, because that's gonna really not be good.
Yeah, that's. So anyway, man, the point
but
is.
I wanted to add to what Uncle was saying about where do we see the Amenra squad. I think that the purpose of research is really to solve a problem. And when you look at the Amenra squad, kind of where we are is that we understand that in order to impact Black people, we have to form a solid institution that could withstand, our legacy. So when people leave, we need an institution. And I think that that's where we are right now. It's like, we have to be able to build an institution, aside from just the individual stuff, we need institutions. I think that Asar is doing a great job with what he's doing with building something. We need institutions, because that's the only way that we can really sustain the progress. So we do all this research, we talk about what we need, but at the end of the day, we need an institution to be able to withstand and to carry on the legacy of the Amenra squad once everyone is gone doing their own thing.
Well, we got one coming. I ain't gonna say them, Doc. Doc at the forefront of
I
that.
was smiling, Unc. I said, I'm not gonna make it. I said, I'm not gonna make the announcement yet. But
yeah, they'll never be able to beat us.
Brick and mortar is coming in probably another month. So we'll be making a serious announcement in another month. Month.
Why they playing? Why they out playing? So like Nye said, whenever a problem arises, that's when the squad come. The meta nature, the evolution. I mean, me and Assad have been up on stage looking at them saying, what in the hell is they talking about over there? What? It's crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I don't know if this carrier thing is another problem. I'm gonna put it on the screen. I'm not sure. I think Assad might find some problem with it. I think Jabari got what he was supposed to get out of this. And I think Garfield for actually bringing Carrier on, and I think it's dope. And so Jabari gonna get a chance to you had to deal with this. This is a problem.
Peace.
Yeah, it's a problem. Yeah, it's a problem. It ain't, and the problem ain't going away. It might be a job for the Amenra squad, but Jabari, he like a lone wolf, so he like to play it by himself. But I don't think he's gonna be able to do it that way. I don't. After reading this, I'm not quite sure he's gonna be able to.
Especially if you look at history.
Mr. Ong, let me ask you a quick question. How is the Amenra squad gonna get involved? Why are you even saying that?
Because man, at the end of the day, man, that's my brother. Although he be cheating and he faked me out, I ain't gonna hold that. I ain't gonna act like that ain't happening. And I always hold on shit forever.
Let me quote Asari Motep like he's not even right here right now. Truth ain't got no friends.
It don't, bro. But
right. So now, is there something in that article you could say, hey, Dr. Carrier is lying? No.
Now, I think Dr. Carrier is not allowing Jabari and the African American to create a system. I think Jabari just gonna have to come out.
Just tell us what y'all talking about before y'all go into detail on it. I don't even know what y'all talking about.
All right, hold on. I'm trying to grab the daggone. Put it up on the screen, Garfield.
All the viewers didn't see what y'all talking about.
All right, let me.
I don't know why you sound so low, Brother Jonathan.
Yeah, it sounds like you're in the tongue.
Oh, he in the studio. That's why. All right, hold on.
Back in.
Let me bring this up real quick.
So, like,
I did inbox Dr. Carrier tonight, by the way, and I asked him if he would debate Jabari one-on-one, and he said, sure. Oh, why not?
Oh man, we ain't better help him with that then.
Garfield, could you just quickly update us on the argument?
Go ahead,
we get around great. Put up on the screen. Hold on.
Okay.
I'm putting up
right definitely gonna be able to help him out with that. And I'm just saying that everything he's saying is true. I ain't saying it's wrong, but he gotta let the man.
But you're saying that the Amenra squad might have to get involved. I'm like,
yeah,
to
because
do what?
we might got to teach about.
You guys are casket makers now. What's going on?
No. I'm saying, yo, just like I created real black atheism, just like Judaism was created, just like his religion, Christianity was created by human beings because they all had agency. They just shrunk the world and got black people thinking that the world started somewhere in the damn Middle East. And they took away our agency to be able to create gods and goddesses and ideas and concepts and belief systems and ancestral worship. I'm saying I take offense to that. So Jabari just got to jump right out there and say, "No, we made that up." That's all he got to say. But I don't think I think he got too much pride to admit that Shemaiahs and all them, they put together a system that they felt like African Americans could have. They too busy going to try to make it seem like it's some ancient, like it was a post. Right? Like I put up a post about the guy there going yoga. Like the yoga ain't no damn Egyptian yoga. It's an American thing. It's an African American thing. That's not an ancient Nile Valley practice. We know that comes from the Hindus somewhere. But we'll fight like hell and make it seem like it's not. But I'm saying that the actual practice itself could actually help African Americans focus, concentrate, whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? And we just put out swam, bam, boom on it. You just got to say that. It's nothing wrong with being creative.
That's what I said at the beginning.
Scroll up a little bit. Let's see. Go up. Let's see if we get you the point. Scroll up a little bit.
Well, sometimes it's not easy to just...
You went too far. Went too far.
I addressed some examples.
Right there. Go ahead. Read that. Go ahead.
I addressed some examples of this recently on the Dagger Squad, where we critique just a sampling of claims from the most famous Semitic apologist today, Brother Jabari. The whole process reminded me of some common fundamental lessons in historical methodology. I wish all these amateurs would learn and apply so we could clean up and get rid of all the misinformation they spin on the internet, which often gets conflated with serious Jesus myth scholarship and thus wrongly used to dismiss it.
I've summarized. What does it say?
I've summarized some critical thinking tools on this point before. A vital primer on media literacy, the differences between a historian and an apologist, and from lead codices to mummy gospels, essential links on dubious tales. I also teach an online course every month on both critical thinking and historical methods for everyone. Here, I'll focus on some basic principles of sound historical procedure for ascertaining the truth, particularly regarding antiquity. So my brief critique of Jabari will serve as a launching point for general principles.
Yeah, so Asar has a class on methodology. Smash teach methodology. We all do. So we not, the point I'm making is the value of having a team is so important. That's how I got my methodology together. Like, you know, I used to get questions like, so you can't just think that's what it is. You being very biased. You can't just, you gotta look, you know, you gotta look at both sides. You gotta, you know what I'm saying? Don't look for what fit with you. And so that's the mistake the conscious community be making. And now, based off of the Europeans stepping up, right? And I'm gonna run and read this stuff that he put right there. And he's not dissing Jabari at all. He's simply saying what we saying. There's a lot of daggone misinformation out there, no matter who it come from. I can't say he's wrong in that. What I will say is, though, Jabari got a right to make up his own shit. That's what I'm saying. But, you know, he'll never concede to that. So
at the same time, though, I'm already seeing a few issues here. And again, I haven't read the article.
I knew
but if you go to the top of the article,
go up there.
You know, he starts off wrong. So he says there is a subcategory of neo-paganism today called Kemetism, or Egyptian neo-paganism. It is often heavily wrapped up in Black supremacist or Afrocentrism movements. So you see how he started off in the very first sentence, framing the entire conversation wrongly. First of all, Afrocentrism is a European thing. Afrocentricity is an academic methodology for evaluating text. And what they do is anybody who says anything about being Black or Black this and that, they lump into this category called Afrocentrism. And then they'll try to link it to this other fictional thing called Black supremacist. Now, there are a few people who, like, if you talk Nation of Islam literature and stuff to this nature, you actually have a Black supremacist worldview. Right, but this is just my point. You have to, when you make blanket statements like this, you have to name names.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing that you know in any kind of methodology. Like, I would get into these conversations with, you know, Dr. Takar. Dr. Takar would, you know, say stuff like, you know, don't name names, you know, speak in general or speak in terms of trends. But when you do that, you cloud the information and you end up making blanket statements. And again, coming from a science background, you know, Dr. Takar's statistics. So they're worried about overall generalizations based on statistical data. But in science and in logic, we need specifics. And so when you blanket people like this, you've already framed them to think negatively without even understanding what is Kemeticism. Has anybody defined that term, that it is a Kemeticist? And what are their motivations for adopting Kemetic culture or even studying it? Without that background, they can just start labeling stuff. And because this individual has a degree, and this is one thing you got to remember about degrees. Mm-hmm. Degrees, people with PhDs have a very narrow specialization. Very, very narrow. You read their PhD dissertation, it's about one narrow subject in a vast sea of information. And what happens all the time is that you get people who specialize in one subject who feel that they can start then critiquing intelligently other fields of study that they don't have deep knowledge in. And this is where they fall short. So this is one of those things where he should say, I don't know. He don't know what Afrocentricity is. I'm pretty sure he hasn't read any serious scholarship along those lines, ain't read none of the methodological books, knows how to distinguish anybody who's just a blackologist and an Afrocentrist. And so he's starting off the conversation wrong. And so when you start off this way with these overgeneralizations and misunderstandings of text, then anything else that follows, you can expect to be in the same way. And I understand that this is a blog, so I'm not going to necessarily treat it the same way that I would a journal article. But from a methodological standpoint, if he's trying to talk about methodology and this is what he teach, then you have to practice what you preach. And so this is just the first line. And I know if I go through this critically and carefully, I'm going to find all other kinds of generalizations and mistakes, you know, and misunderstandings of African scholarship. Because what ends up happening is that, you know, when you start looking for an expert in these subjects, you start looking to white people who aren't scholars in the field. And so he can't determine what is, you know, like we would never use, an Afrocentrist would never use a term like neo-paganism. Because that's not how we define this. This goes back to the whole thing about agency that Unc was talking about. And so when you address, for example, Brother Jabari, you speak about the shrine of Ma'at. And Ma'at being the center of their particular paradigm. You use the language that the people themselves use. When you start using outside language like neo-paganism, Black supremacists, Afrocentrism, then you've already started off the argument wrong. And if our good brother was savvy enough, he can get this. He can dismiss all of this easily.
I think I agree. I think in the actual article, he actually went through like 9 different rules and rebutted Jabari based on the things that he was asserting. So the introduction was problematic, but you know, he did attempt to bring to light some factual information. So,
but I mean, even still, it's still wrong. Like go back up to where he says, for example, don't trust anyone or trust any information before 1950. Mm-hmm. BS. You trust the information that has the evidence to support it, regardless of what age, what time period it is, or who says it. This is the difference. He's a historian. He's not a scientist, so he don't think like a scientist. So a historian can summarily dismiss something, say, oh, don't trust anything from 1950 and beyond. No, you take what is the kernels, that is verifiable, and then you use that. And you use it in a particular type of context. And so it's just, you know, again, as I said before, I haven't read it at all, so I have to go through it. But just how the way that he's wording things is just not scientific.
All right, let me dive in here real quick. Let me dive in. So, no, I'm gonna stay right here. So, okay, so let me come to the spears of the Mossy. All right, and you know, man, shout out to the Mossy, and thank goodness. Shout out to the pseudo killers, thank goodness. So you might have some problems, but I'm not gonna let the whole situation off the hook.
Unc, hold on 1 second. Jetty just came in, by the way.
What? I couldn't hear you. You said what?
Other son Jetty just came in. He just came in.
Okay, all right. Let me dive on this. So it says today on page 134. It says today we have a few different types of systems that claim to be traditional indigenous to the Nile. It's a Kemeticism and Kemetic Orthodox both function like a Baptist church on Sunday morning. It say we have yet to find any text to collaborate any cultural tradition practices by either. It say, here lies another problem. Kemetic orthodoxy grew out of the personal teachings of Siendra, S-I-U-D-A. It says the temple began in 1988 when she claimed to have experienced a series of visions during her initiation as a Wicca priest. And the source for that is Dawson, 2004, 2009. Kemeticism, also sometimes referred to as Netaisms or Egyptian neo-paganism. It's is the contemporary rival of ancient Egyptian religion and related expression of religion in classical and late antiquity, emerging during the 1970s. A Kemetic is one who follows Kemeticism. Michael, 2014. It say when careful review the beliefs between these two systems, Rosicrucian occultism stands out. It say Wicca history stems from Europe and was created during the 20th century. What kind of trace would lead one to create Kemetic orthodoxy? These are two totally different types of traditions that have absolutely no relationship with one another. So, you know what I mean? I just wanted to kind of, this is from the Spears of the Maasi Warrior Clan, by Kofi Pasa research team. Go ahead, Smash, I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't say that. I didn't even know my mic was turned on. My bad.
All right. So yeah, I'm saying, so it is some problems in that. But I'm always stand with my brothers, but when you're wrong, you just fucking wrong. And like I said, my only problem is that we have agencies to create any system we want using African traditional systems as the backdrop. And I mean, hell, like you said, Asar, like, man, look, even the practice of Judaism is taken from an older system. So I don't know. What's going on, brother Sanjeti? How you doing, bro?
I'm doing pretty good. Peace to everybody. Good to see people's face. Hear people's voices. Sar, of course, we talk often. Check you out, Naya. All right.
Peace.
Jonathan Owens was good, man. It was good, brother. So we have Garfield there. It was good.
Doc, I think she left. Doc was on here.
Yeah, she just left out. But shout out, peace to her. She went back home and got her name. I mean, that's a big deal. You know what I'm saying? So when she looks at the archive, I want to let her know that, hey, sister, I'm real proud of you for making that step. That's very important. So, so I want to jump in on the Kemeticism piece. So
he popped up out of nowhere. That's why he popped up.
I mean, I didn't even know that was going to be the discussion. It just,
Popped like the Holy Ghost, yo. On cue. Hey, good to see you though, Sanjeti. Absolutely, bro.
Now, I want to say this, that, I'm really proud of the Mosaic Warrior Clan. With Kofi doing his thing, I see you, brother. Keep doing your thing. I'm real proud of you, man. That's a good example. Keep pushing, keep researching, keep producing. Now, when they did that research, I do wish that, I'll say, if they decide to update their research on that, to interview key people. Me, I'm one of them. So, ask questions from, now again, I don't know if they had conversations with certain people, but, if they were to interview, say, somebody like me, who's been involved in that at least since 2000, I'm not gonna count my Nuwapian experience in that, because that wasn't African centered. So I'd say from 2000 moving forward. So that's 21 years. So if you decide to update that, then I'm here for questions. So there is a woman. Now, let's talk about the Kemetic movement.
What do you think about that though? What I just read? Did you hear it? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I heard most of it. So it looks like there was a distinction between basically Kemetic orthodoxy. So that's the white folks doing it, quote unquote.
Okay.
And then you have, say, the Kemetic people. I don't like saying Kemite personally, but we'll just say Kemite, just to make it simple. So we got the black stream, so we got the European stream, which essentially kind of grows out of European Orientalism, if you will, and occultism. And then you have African Americans who are reconnecting with their African roots and choosing, basically what civilization they want to connect to. So we have some African Americans who would emphasize the Akom tradition, all right, of the Akan people. You have others who will emphasize the Yoruba culture, specifically Sheshe Legba. Many people, they'll say Ifa, but that's the divination system, if you will. But we call it Sheshe Legba. You have others who will emphasize the Vodun tradition that has its roots directly into the farm people in Bang.
You froze up.
Son, Jetty doing Jedi tricks on us, man.
He popped up and then he pop up like the Holy Ghost show.
He gonna come back in. He got this, he froze and come back out. What's up, Sean? What's on your mind, man?
Yeah, I wanted to bring the author to book, man. Brother Sean, man, he been with the squad for a long time, man. And we looking at the books, looking at the roles. You know what I'm saying? Looking good there, Sean. So yeah, Sean, I read that out your book, man. I felt like that you definitely have a vested interest in this conversation, though, man. And I think I told you, me, I don't keep I don't hide my hand. So the only thing I'm defending with Jabari is his right to have agency to create and use anything from Africa that he want. I think it's very creative. The only problem I would have if we try to make it seem like that's what they was doing, this original system, and that would be my problem. But that's, you know what I'm saying? And so he gonna have to stand on that. If he think that's what they was doing, then he gonna have to stand on that. He didn't stand on it by himself. I can't do it. So what do you got to say about, because you wrote it, the historical survey of the minds of African warrior scholars, right? One, and that's a lovely piece right here, bro. Like, yeah, that's it. That's your chapter right there. What's up?
Now, I wrote it to draw a distinction. You actually have to get the full context of the chapter and the purpose for writing it, because there's other claims that go inside of it that have been used by Brother Jabari in his work. The truth of the matter is, this is based on his lecture. This chapter isn't based on his lecture, but some of the stuff that's in the lecture or the presentation, outside of some things that can get really, 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 really suspect. You see that, right? We have brothers and sisters who practice some form of whatever they want to call the system. They say Kemetic spirituality, which I
say Kemetic Christianity. I call it Kemetic Christianity. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I do too. But you see them doing certain things that we really don't see in the actual. We don't see in Metal Nature. We don't see in any other on the walls or ascribed. And a lot of this is infused. A lot of this is infused culturally from mistranslations, not only from Budge, but the influence of Gerald Massey and what's her name, Murdoch, DM Murdoch, and a lot of those claims, like the Jesus thing and the claiming Jesus was born on the 25th, and a lot of that stuff, a lot of that comes from these people who's actually pushing it. Now, what you read wasn't particularly speaking to or toward Jabari or the Shrine of Ma'at. In particular, it was speaking more so to the lady in 1988 supposedly creating that. And then this movement in the 70s, which you which you will see a person like Baba Heru influential in that particular culture, and rightfully so. But I'm saying he takes a different lane or a path. But you know, you don't see Jabari. You don't see, there's some things you don't see Jabari doing, and that's comparing the cross and the ump, well, which I haven't seen it, but you see other people who actually do that. You know, but you do see a lot of correlations to, you know, that weighs heavy on what is that? Gerald Massey's Egypt and the Light of the World, right? Because we get this passed down through us from people who get introduced to SETI. You know, Baba Ashwa Kwesi.
Hey, Sean, let me ask you a question, straight up question. Does any human being have the right to create their own foolishness? No, I'm serious. They have the right to.
Yeah, they got a right to do that.
They have the right to do it. Jabari has the right to do it. Anybody, SETI, YP, anybody, right? Mm-hmm. But the issue is saying that we are interconnected directly to that culture by doing this, telling the people.
Correct.
Well, that depends on the scholarship.
Oh boy.
Because you know, I've been waiting to debate anyone on this notion that there's no connection between West Africa and ancient Kemet, and throughout various time periods, I should say. And you know, everybody makes claims, but you know, you have to falsify just as strongly as you make a claim to support your evidence. Like you have to come with the same rigor and same zeal when falsifying information. So something isn't wrong just because you said so. What experiments, what have you read? What are the sources that you say are making claims? And what is the evidence for and against those claims in those texts? And so this is the issue of methodology that has to be kept into the forefront. So just because someone says, you know, we West Africans, a lot of us didn't come from West Africa. Like my mother's lineage came from Southeast Africa. Like people forget where the hell the slave trade went. Like forgetting all those people in Central Africa and then in East Africa who found themselves here in the Americas.
What they got to do with what you were saying though? What Garfield was saying, so?
No. Hold on. I see where he's going. But Asar, you just said that most of us don't come from West Africa. Did you just say that?
No, I'm saying that most of us don't know that we come from other places besides West Africa.
Oh, okay. I got you.
So when like people say West Africa, like it's a city.
Yo, you stupid.
You know, and then everybody talking about West Africa. These are the same people don't talk about Congo, don't talk about Zambia, don't talk about South Africa, Mozambique, Madagascar. You know, these are places that Africans were taken from the slave trade as well. And when you look at the entire history of Africa, it's complex. And that's why I'm like, when I see people summarily dismiss arguments, I'm like, what have you read? Who? And I know for a fact that most of these people haven't read certain scholarship because they don't speak and read in other languages.
Hey, so you know the problem be a lot of times continental Africans be making up shit too though. Like real hard. You be like, come on, dog. Everybody from Egypt, everybody can't be from Egypt or so.
They don't,
you know what I'm talking
say
about.
Everyone's from Egypt.
No, I'm saying when you go to, you'll get these scholars from the continent of Africa, and they be all over the continent of Africa, and they all swear they come from Egypt. And the question is, well, why? Why is that? Why do everybody go think Egypt is the place to go? You get my point, though. It's like when the religion.
As I said before,
claim to be Muslim. Hold on, wait. You get African people claiming to be from the lineage of Muhammad. It's that same type of thing that goes on. So
who does that? Hold on. And
let
clarity.
me finish. Just let me finish my point. That's not to knock the real scholarship on the subject. So I'm saying there needs to be a line drawn, bro. The difference between people, everybody acting like they from Egypt, right, and the real scholarship. That's the point I want to make.
But if you haven't read the scholarship, how could you tell? This is how I know that certain people haven't read the scholarship. It's easy to make a summarization, but that's just my point. That's what my point talking about Courier when we read the first part of his article. You have to name text. You have to name people and cite where they make these claims so that you know who is making arguments based on evidence and who is not. And so what some people do is that they'll find that one dude who said that we are the Anunnaki who landed in Egypt and built spaceships and were the Native Americans, and say that's the one that we're going to summarize everybody who speaks on this subject on. And not understanding that there is a body of knowledge of information from colonial scholars or just like colonial travelers and things of this nature, botany, linguistics, metallurgy. It's a whole thing. That's why I can't wait for someone to talk sideways and want to have a debate on this West Africa Kemet.
That's gonna be fun, because I doubt. Now go ahead, Midgenetics.
So
because you got knocked off.
All right. So on that topic, you get, just like Asar said, we have to read and actually listen to what people are saying. We're talking about the scholars. When scholars, I'm talking about the real scholars, when they're using Kemet, they're not using Kemet to say, oh, all of us come from here. Give me one scholar, one that says all of us come from Kemet. One. I challenge anybody, give me one scholar. I'm not talking about a religious fanatic. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about a scholar who's done hardcore research with references, etc.
I'm gonna take that challenge up.
Hold on. One scholar that says all of us come from Kemet.
They ain't the claim though.
Okay, so I'm gonna put that out there. And again, I'm not talking about Dr. York. I'm not talking about Rana for Amen, and I don't even think he makes that claim. So I'm not talking about YouTube fanatics. I'm not talking about them. Okay, so I don't want nobody bringing me none of them. Give me one scholar who does. Now, do I personally think that I directly come from Kemet? No, I don't. I've never said that. I deal with Kemet because that is a personal choice. That is my choice, and that's what I do with my life. Do I deal with West Africa? I absolutely do, because that is my choice. Now, we have people who make criticisms, but my question is, like, what is the end point of certain types of criticisms, if they are even criticisms? Are you going to change somebody's behavior? Are you going to change their decision to do with their life? Probably not. So back to the Kemeticism piece, and I'm going to try to connect it with what y'all were just talking about. So this is why we have to learn how to do research, not just read something. That's not research. When you go to University of Kemet Press, they have plenty of works on how to do research. Now, Kemeticism, when you read about it, is talking about Kemetic orthodoxy. So you have this woman, this white woman named Tamaris Suwita. Tamaris Suwita.
White lady?
Say it again.
Was it a white lady?
Yes. And from what I recall, I think she was dealing with a West African system, and she basically wanted to be the head of it, but that's not happening. So then she latched on to Kemet and started Kemet orthodoxy, trying to put a monopoly on it. And she has priesthood and all that kind of stuff. She even calls herself a Nisut Biddy. Now, when you're studying Kemetic culture and you understand what that means, what she's saying is, I am a king in line with all of the kings of ancient Kemet. That's what she's saying. That's like saying to someone of the Yoruba culture, oh, I am the Araba. That's like saying I'm the next pope, if we have to make a comparison. And you're looking like, what? So now we have African Americans who have decided that they want to deal with Kemet. That is their right. Do I have my criticisms of some of the different groups? Of course, do I have criticisms of everything? You know, but we have some people who, you know, may have dealt with, say, occultism, et cetera, and then came into the study of Kemet, at least on the surface level. And you have others who enter in based on scholarship, but you have to know exactly who you're talking about. It can't be just this blanket statement to say that, oh, all y'all think you're from Egypt. Like, that tells me how much you have not read or understood. You know what I mean? Because it's easy to do that. It's easy to talk trash about other people because you think it's fun.
Who thinks that like everybody who practice a Kemetic style of a tradition or whatever all come from Kemet? What people think that?
I don't know. But you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? I know you've seen in conversations people implying that, oh, all y'all think y'all from Egypt. Why y'all always got to talk about Kemet? Well, that's because they want to. Is that simple? I mean,
I've seen that.
You know, now from a scholastic standpoint and reconstructing African history, when we read the works of Job, be it the ancestor Carruthers, Jacob Carruthers, and a few others, we use Kemet because of its antiquity. For example, how would I know how to distinguish European or Abrahamic influences, let's say, on the Yoruba culture? Or in this case, let's say the Mosi culture. How do I distinguish that when there are indeed influences? One of the ways you can do that is by comparison. So if I can find the comparisons between, let's say, the Mosi culture and, let's say, something from, say, Kenan Bornu before Islam came in, and with Kemet, because we know Kemet comes before Abrahamism and Europeanism, I can find those commonalities, and that way I can deduce and weed out what those influences are. That's one of the reasons we use Kemet, because it helps us in that journey. It doesn't mean that you have to practice Kemetic ritual, which is just simply general African ritual anyway, if we actually are reading the texts. Because every time I'm reading the text and looking at how they're doing a ritual, I see that at a bembe. You know what I'm saying? If anyone, I'm sure, I know, sorry, you've been to a bembe. I'm not sure if anyone else has. You know, when we're there doing what's called Orisha worship, etc. I see it all the time. I see it in the Akon tradition. When I look at them do their rituals. Voodoo, when I look and see them do their rituals. I have god sisters who are Mambos, and they do rituals, and I'm like, oh man, that looks like what I've seen in this ritual over here on the wall. But that's just a little tidbit. So I passed the mic.
About to release a text on Orisha in ancient Egypt. I want all the smoke in 2021.
Yeah, and so do me a favor, because I think that evidence connecting West Africa to Kemet is kind of flimsy. So give me I'm gonna do a literary review, and I'm gonna be the one to challenge you on that, because I've heard the conversation and I just found it to be very, very flimmy, flimsy, flammy, not not as thorough as I would like it for me to actually say, you know what, I'm with that. So if you talk about 10 people that might have migrated to West Africa, I mean a wholesale tribe, something that we can stick our teeth into. Are you saying they was trading? What's the books I need to read? And please,
you get it all in the bibliographies of the texts that will be released this year.
Really?
Yes,
give me 3 good books to get right now while I'm talking. Give me 3.
I put it like this.
Okay.
The books for you right now are irrelevant. What you have to develop is the skill set to evaluate the evidence.
Let me say that again. I asked you for 3 books and you tell me I got to develop the skill set to evaluate the information. I'm evaluating. I think it's a bunch of crap at this point.
But that's just the thing.
I've seen it.
If you don't know the sources, how do you know it's a bunch of crap?
Because I read enough to know.
But you didn't read the primary text in which we're talking about.
Civilization wasn't in West Africa, so I'm asking.
Hold on one second. Hold on one second, Asar. Hold on one second. What are you guys really talking about right now?
I'm saying that
defending Jabari.
No, I ain't defending Jabari.
No. Hold on.
No, I'm saying it.
Hold on.
We're defending Jabari right now.
Sean, hold on one second.
No, we're not.
Asar saying that the West Africans were in their entire culture, a quarter, the 25% of the culture, 50% of the culture, or 100% of the culture comes from Kemet. Is that what you're saying, Asar?
No, I'm saying there's variations when you talk about connections. That's why you have to have the conversation in text first. I've been in the conscious community long enough to know that you Negroes on video take one little thing and try to run with it without evaluating the whole entire thing. And what I don't want to do is put something out there and then not have available for you in one single location for you to evaluate everything, including the entire book of resources. So that's why I say, just wait. You will have your time to evaluate, the text. And so, like people get like one of the things that I mention all the time is cowrie shells. All those cowrie shells you see in West Africa come from Egypt. They come from Sudan. They're the ones who were using it as trading, as money. There's no cowrie shells that originate in West Africa, but you got cowrie shells all in the West African art. We do divinations with cowrie shells and Ifa tradition and all other kinds of stuff. Even the whole Ifa markings. This is not Egypt, but this comes from Arabs.
Okay, but let me ask you this, Asar. If most African Americans, right, have certain markers, and I'm going to genetics right now, and genetic marker, we don't find it going. As a matter of fact, most of the EM 180 and beyond that markers migrate and go to the east. So there's evidence of people from West Africa migrating. We could use that genetic evidence. So now if people migrate to the east and come back to the west or back and forth, and we know there are several trading networks in West Africa, I don't think anybody's surprised to see anything. I mean, I've read tons of books on trade and people coming from different cultures from all over, looking at oral traditions. I've read tons of books on oral traditions in West Africa and East Africa and South Africa. So people are always migrating and let's look at the Lemba for a second. The Lemba has an oral tradition saying that they descend from white men from Senya, right? Now, wherever they come from or whatever is their business. But am I to believe that these people actually descended from white people from Senya? Should I take that literally? So when we do the oral tradition game and then we look at different things in the culture, I have evidence of the Romans in West Africa, but it don't mean that the Romans came there and brought Christianity and everything. So cultures always migrating and trading. So I don't think there's an issue.
But there is an issue. That's why we're having, because people are trying to deny. Listen to what I'm saying. People are trying to deny that there was no trading or there was no travels of ancient Kemet to West Africa. The only time that they say that this is even possible is when it comes to Arabs. So only Arabs are intelligent and bold enough to cross from the deserts in Saudi Arabia all the way to West Africa. But the Africans in Africa, whether they in East Africa, Northeast Africa, they don't do the same thing that Europeans and Arabs do.
That's a good point.
No, it's not.
Because listen, Mansa Musa took a group of Africans, hundreds of thousands of them, and traveled from North Africa all the way to Mecca and back in only a few years.
You mean West Africa?
That's what I'm saying. From West Africa to Mecca and back.
Yeah, you said North.
No,
yeah, you're right about
Africa.
That.
All right, no, I'm saying through North Africa.
Well, the route was West Africa. It went north to North Africa. Then he went straight across through Kemet. Then he went through and all the way to Arabia.
I mean, say it again, Sinjet. He did what? What did he do? Which way go?
I'm just giving clarity. Mansa Musa went from West Africa.
It's an angle in the Sahara. It's an angle that goes north.
That goes. He went to West Africa.
It's an angle that goes
north. He went north into West Africa along a trading route, and then he continued east straight to Kemet. But he went through there and then went over to Saudi Arabia and then went south. That was his route. All right, go ahead.
No, that's a great point. Yeah, I'm kind of. That's a good one. So we saying that they didn't do it. So if we fight against that, we basically saying that they didn't. That it took the Arabs to show them how to do it. Yeah, I can see that. I definitely can see.
But you see, that's kind of like a cop out. I'm gonna tell you why.
No,
listen. When you're researching, you don't make up your mind. That's what methodology teaches you, right? You don't make up your mind before you start. You go where the evidence leads, right? Now, if the evidence leads in one direction, we can now say bias. Remember what you're dealing with here. You're dealing with a culture that's oral. And all these, you have thousands of oral traditions. Robin Law has done tons of work on this. Goldenberg, different African writers have done. I'm gonna give a quick example.
Listen, this is what you also have to keep in mind. That just because you are young on the research question doesn't mean that everyone else is and hasn't considered those things. So what you have to be careful of is to not project your own limitations on other people in their research. And that's what a lot of people do. Just because you haven't come across it doesn't mean that other people haven't.
I think you're throwing something out that you don't even need to throw out. What I'm saying to everybody.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Jonathan. I'm sorry.
Is my mic faint or is it?
No, we can hear you now. You're good now.
Yeah, I just want to add something, and probably because I do remember some in my earlier research, some West African people. And first, we also can find things when we look at the follow the gods. And when I was doing who they venerate. When I was doing research on the mother goddess, I find that the people in West Africa called the Iwi people are EWE, some old school.
The airway.
Okay, thanks for pronouncing it right. So airway people. Now, they did worship the goddess Nana. It was interesting because in my research, I found, and you can also look into the work of Mama Zogbe or Dr. Darkwa. I think his name is Dr. Nana Darkwa. And they also say that the Iwa people traveled from West Africa to the regions of Haiti, the old Hittite kingdom, so to speak. But before the Hittite kingdom is what we find out. Now, this is mean you had to pass through Kemet and go further north, as we would understand how that works geographically. But one thing we find out when we look at that is they worship Nana. Now, they were said to be a people called the Keta. And I did make certain connections that would show that some of this stuff is true about some West African tribal people leaving, traveling, just like it was demonstrated when Mansa Musa did it. And we know it happened many a times over. But if people want to look into this research, here's a key source in that, because when they had the Battle of the Hittites a long time later, about 18th, maybe 19th dynasty, I might be wrong, whenever the Battle of the Hittites happened, it was Ramses who had said that one of the ways that they stopped it was pointing out to the Hittites that they had a fraternity with the people who ruled their land before them, and the people were called the Keta. And then when you start to look into, I don't know what the study of divinity is, that's not there, but whatever, we find out that the Keta still worship Nana, and Tawa Nana being one of the first Keta deities, Keta queens or whatever. And so I just want to put that out there on the subject, that I just put that out of my memory, that we could definitely find people who sourced, who did research to show migrations from West Africa far beyond Kemet.
So yeah, I can't. I forgot about Musa. So are we saying that? Let me see. So
yeah, but Musa's in the 1300 AD era.
But he was not. He didn't travel by ship.
Whoa, hold on, man. Let me say what I want to say. Let me make this point. Hold on. I know when the era was, but do he know how to get there from stories from his own culture, or was he following the Arabs back? Like it's interesting because I forgot about that. So maybe was doing, like, how does that? What do y'all? I know.
You have to think about the people who controlled the Sahara, yo. You know what I'm saying? Like you had people that were controlling trade in those areas, and you had people that were getting paid to take people across the Sahara. You had people that got, like the Tuareg. Like if you identify the Tuareg, they wore a symbol. The symbol was the Tuareg cross. The Tuareg cross didn't mean anything outside of, it had symbolic meaning, which you stood for pretty much direction. So they were infamous in dealing with going here, there, and everywhere. You see the adaptation of people's gods and different cultures when you're dealing with these Tuareg up there, or these Berber Tuaregs up there in Northeast Africa, or along that trade route, because they wanted to do business. They were Christian, they were Muslim, they were, you see the Remich, Netcherus up in their culture. You see all of that when you're talking about those Tuareg. So you got these people that were desert dwellers, that were Uber drivers that could lead you along the way. That's why you had those caravans. Those caravans was infamous. They had.
How old ago?
Man, they've been doing it for a long time. They've been doing it for a long time.
Like what?
That's what made them so relevant during trade.
Like what time? 20,000 years ago? 10,000? What? 5? What? I'm trying to get.
You going? I ain't going no 20,000 years.
Sean, all those crosses that they brought, the Tuareg brought during the trade routes.
Watch me ask some good questions.
I'm gonna ask you a simple question. So if they went all the way to the east and through the whichever routes they went to, isn't it possible the people that they trade with had products from different areas, whether from so-called Nubia, so-called Egypt, so-called Ethiopia, so-called North Africa, wherever the trade went? Isn't it possible?
India.
Exactly.
Europe, yeah.
Exactly. When you looked at the Amber Road and all these different trade routes, all I'm saying is anyone can bring culture across. It doesn't.
You can bring artifacts. You can bring culture. Culture comes with the people. And there's a difference. And because something is possible does not make it plausible.
West African.
You have to keep that in mind when you're doing it.
Uncle stupid, yo.
You know what? No. I'm just saying today, y'all make like I'm saying I forgot about Musa. So how long was Musa is prime evidence that an African from West Africa can end up in Mecca some damn where. So if I keep fighting and saying that they, hold on, Garfield.
It doesn't matter if he had a lead or a guide. He brought soldiers. It was a group. It was a group of them. You know, no less than. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he brought slaves. He brought a lot of people.
Yes, and so my point is that people travel. Africans. He didn't travel by boat. Yeah. He didn't have a whole bunch of camels either. They walked, and Africans walk long distances all the time. You'd be surprised. Of how far African people be walking.
What was that, Sean?
Not all the people that travel with Mansa Musa made it to Mecca. Some of them didn't even make it to Kemet.
Yeah, some probably died
because of the path.
Yeah, because said, I'm settling here.
All right, so look.
Yeah, the path was rocky. So when they went on those mountains, when they went along those mountains, it became too narrow. So they had to leave a lot behind. But it wasn't, what they left behind wasn't like, you know what I'm saying? Like he was traveling with like, you know, some people, some muscle. He was traveling with servants and things of that nature, but it wasn't like, you know, like the exaggerated number that we come to know in the story. That's a little embellished, but it's you know, he goes that particular way. So that there's like that, but he ain't the first though. He's not the first person.
Yeah, so I'm saying that's why I'm saying it's illogical to think. I'm just trying to figure out how long was they doing it. And so Garfield, are you saying it took the Arabs to get us there? Is it remotely possible? Well, we know it's possible. It's like saying they went to the moon. Was it possible for them to do it? Like that? That's what I'm just trying to figure out. You know what I mean?
Let me ask a quick question to you, Anka, to everybody. I mean, it's a simple one. Why did Mansa Musa go west? I mean, I'm sorry, you know what I'm saying? Why did he go east? Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was going to Mecca.
I know, but what was the overall reason why? So overall it was Allah, correct?
Huh? Yes.
No.
See, I want to know the answer to that. So let me hear what you
Let me answer the question. Let me answer the question.
No, let him finish, Sean. Go ahead.
I'm asking to get him to say what he's about to say.
All right. Mansa Musa went to Kemet. His move east was a political move because he wanted to expand the empire. But at the same time, there was someone who sat at the throne prior to him that no longer exists. And this is the first time you hear about the story of supposedly Al-Bukhari II, being, you know, traveling to the New World, or supposedly wanting to go somewhere, and you know, you get the 2000 ship story, the 200 ship, and then the 2000 ship behind that. Yes,
that's interesting. One day expand the empire, that lead us down. I mean, that's starting another algorithm, because that would lead me to ask: did he expand the empire?
No.
So he didn't.
He went broke.
So he did not fail. He didn't fail in his endeavors. I think the story was he was making a pilgrimage to Mecca and gave out so much gold on the way under his religious zeal or whatever. He ended
up broke, and he borrowed money from the Muslims, and they came to the area in Mali. Yeah.
But I'm trying to just
hold on. There's more to it. It's more to it. It's more to it, Smash. It's more to it.
Hey, Sean, which one of the Mossy books you got there? All right, real quick.
So it's in volume 2. It's in volume 2. All right.
Thank you. But before you say that, I'm not necessarily scrutinizing what Mansa Musa did. I want to make a point about how divinity made men travel these long ways. And my point, I mean, again, I'm not trying to cut you off because I wasn't scrutinizing what Mansa Musa did. I'm pointing out that from West Africa to Mecca is not close. We know that. And Allah, quote unquote, or the religious zeal or whatever of having a pilgrimage made him travel that far. Well, when we look at how the West African goddess Nana, who still survives in West Africa, how she entered into the Hebrew Bible as El Shaddai, and how Abraham was worshiping her, there was a ziggurat to Nana way before all this stuff happened. I'm just saying that we got two pilgrimages from these areas based on the same type of thing, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? And that's just something I wanted to point out because, again, I want us to focus on that, how the goddess Nana, being one of the earliest mother goddess deities, actually we see evidence of her all in the early world, and this first starting as a West African deity with the Ewe people. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see your point. Yeah, because you're right. She did travel from afar. She traveled from afar, and she's the oldest deity.
Time period.
There's also Sekhmet, who traveled into what is now called Nigeria.
You going back really far, because as far as worshiping a deity is Nana, and I can't date it, but some estimated.
No, I just need it before Musa.
I can give you a good one.
So
let's give you a good one.
Like around 20,000, right? 20,000 years.
Look up the ziggurat to Nana in about 2100 BC. Damn. A ziggurat to Nana in
Y'all killed me. Hey, Garfield, so what you gonna do? You heard that? They didn't morphosize on our ass on this one. Quick.
Yeah, I think there's evidence of people traveling back and forth throughout history.
That was some quick shit.
And hold on. And I think it's I'm just going where the evidence leads.
So you don't believe
2021.
Wait, hold on. What you say?
I'm saying that I realized I forgot about Musa for like ever. And then they start talking about Nana, and they give me the artifact. So I'm saying I just gotta shut up for a minute. I gotta read. That's why I say send me the shit.
All the smoke for 2020.
I don't want the smoke.
But hold on there. What smoke do you want, Asar? What smoke do you want for 2020? Let's be clear. What smoke do you want?
I want the people who deny West African connections.
Nah, that's vague. That is so vague.
That's too vague.
That's so vague. That's a trap. We ain't falling for the trap.
It is a trap. That's a good trap.
Banana in the tailpipe. That's the banana in the tailpipe trap. They ain't falling for that. Everybody just
2021.
Genetics prove there's migration.
First of all, you don't even have enough genetic studies.
Actually, we do.
No, you don't.
Actually, we do. You know why? Because we have something sequenced within the E marker.
Listen to what I'm saying.
Actually, tell us.
I put it like this.
We know how long the E marker has been.
I put it like this. Garfield, can you name me 50 studies of ancient West African DNA?
50 studies of ancient African DNA?
Can you name me 2?
50?
I mean, you had the one with the ghost gene. You had the one.
There is no West African ancient DNA.
Yes, there is. It came out the other day. It came out 4 months ago. What are you talking about?
No, that's in
That is West African. That changed the whole conversation.
And all they talk
so old, it changed the whole conversation.
It kind of supports your argument, Asar, that West African thing
was not populated by those folks that you see. This is why I meant
it's not populated by what folks?
You assume that people that are in their place right now have always been there. And that's why I say you don't even have 50 ancient genetic studies of West African fossils to compare to the people in the areas in which they're at now. You don't have, I guarantee you, I bet money on this, you don't have enough studies to come to a conclusion. I know this for a fact because I've been studying this. I keep up with this.
Okay.
I know for a fact you know.
Okay.
And
I have a question.
All the smoke in 2021.
Hey, hold on, Garfield. Hold on, Garfield.
He done messed up now.
Hold on. So listen. So in Nigeria specifically, Iwo Eliru scientist Chris Stringer proceeded to do a more detailed analysis on the cranial of a skull that dates back some 11,200 years. Tiny fragments of the charcoal accompanied by old Stone Age tools recovered from 10 workings near Jos of the Nigerian plateau suggest when submitted to scientific methods of dating in age greater than 39,000 years, whether Negroes or Negroid people were living in West Africa in the Sahara Two at the time is not known, but it is believed that they existed in that area around 5,000 BC. Rock painting and engraving recently discovered by Henry Lot, a French archaeologist, indicate that the Negroes, presumably from West Africa and its neighbors, had been living as far as the Tansil Plateau in the Sahara before 3000 BC. What you say about that?
I say exactly what I said beforehand. You don't have enough studies. You don't have enough bodies. West Africa is not conducive to the preservation of fossils. That's a good point. In that large amount that you can extract DNA in large amounts to make these arguments. This is why I can't take people seriously when they on this subject. I know for a fact they ain't studied. I want all the smoke.
So what about the two burial sites near Cameroon? There were
burial sites in one location in all of Cameroon, and you making a judgment.
No, I'm asking a question.
As far as anti, listen, Nassar, listen.
Yeah,
claiming West Africa is not a bad thing. It's not. It's not a bad thing. I just want to put that out there. It's not a bad thing.
Now,
it's not
a lot of the stuff that people want to claim in terms of the civilization of West Africa are Arabs.
Yeah, I got it in the book. I got it in the book. It's on page 146. And 146, it's called Balad al Badan, the land of the whites, white rule in West Africa.
146.
146, yo. Second paragraph, second and third paragraph, yo.
What time period is that anyway?
Hey, Sean, you read it from your book. Smack right out the book. Don't let Asar talk that shit. That shit in writing. Respond in writing, Asar.
It's in writing, Asar.
First of all,
here you go. There you go.
4 West African populations carry genes.
This is why.
Hold on, Asar. Hold on, Asar. Go ahead.
How are you going to ask me a question? I started answering, and then you start reading.
I wanted him to read it. He found it. Go ahead and read it.
All right. So 4 West African populations carry genes from what may be undiscovered archaic hominid. This archaic group of hominids seems likely to have diverged from the shared ancestor of Neanderthals, Denisovans, and modern humans before these lineages split about 800,000 years ago. The source, Ackley 2020. Recently in Cameroon, a burial site was excavated. Its findings uncovered more available data. For the first time, the University Libre de Bruxelles, you know who they are, the Royal Museum of Central Africa and the Leakey Foundation, scientists analyzed the ancient genetics of 4 individuals from Shum Laka Rock Shelter in West Cameroon. The samples came from 2 burials at the site, one roughly 3,000 years ago, another around 8,000 years ago. Wehaas 2020. It is said to say that West Africa has its own story. That's me on there. That's yet to been written. But that you're right as far as the bodies and all of that stuff. But they are uncovering data as we can speak to add more to the discussion.
I'm not denying that at all. What I'm saying is that people are making conclusive arguments on the most meager of evidence. In science, you need a large body of samples to come to a remotely conclusive statistics. And so when somebody tells me about 4 bodies in Cameroon, such a large area, and these 2 varying times, because it should be 2 bodies from an earlier period and 2 from a later period. And they came to the conclusion in that study that essentially the Bantu speaking people were not the original of that area. But that's not all of Cameroon. That's just one spot. And we always have to keep this in mind when we're evaluating stuff. So this is why I say it's not the source material is important, but until you develop the skill set to properly evaluate the source material, anybody can twist the information any kind of way. And I don't want to, skew the evidence for or against, my position. I want it to be strictly, I want to be able to answer it the way it is and be able to say, you know what, we don't know. It's a growing body of evidence, and given some times, we may be able to make more conclusive arguments. But you cannot make a conclusive argument on that small sample size from that one area. Statistically, that is insignificant. And so we always, if we're going to be serious researchers, we have to look at it and be on that level.
But Asar, we go to Nigeria and pull. We go to Cameroon and pull. I mean, we still got to go other places. You got Morocco in play.
Yeah, but you don't have ancient DNA. I'm trying to tell y'all, there's not many ancient DNA fossils that you can extract from in these places in West Africa. And then you have to get it from so many areas. Because when you say, that's what I say, like people think West Africa is a suburb in a city somewhere. And not this big ass landmass that the United States.
2.4 million square miles.
Exactly. Like that's a lot of land to cover. And so we'll get the information in the future. Right now, we just don't have it. That's what my argument is. And I just need people to quit making definitive arguments on such meager evidence.
Well, who did that? Ain't nobody did that yet.
Name was Uncle Cat.
Man, I shut up a long time ago when I realized Moose, and God damn, I've been dropped out. Let's Garfield.
I'm just messing with you, bro.
Where you at, Garfield? Come on, man. It got me on the ropes. Where you at? God damn it.
Nah, the thing with West Africa that, I mean, we all can, I mean, with how the world is set up as far as information and collecting information, and you're dealing with a lot of oral traditions, it's hard to come up with a concrete answer to a lot of the questions with West Africa in the past. Because even if you look at the time in the 1800s or the 1700s when colonials, I mean, people were part of the whole colonialism stuff, they would come in and they would write the history of what the Africans did. You know, you look at Samuel Johnson, you look at different writers that you have throughout the period, they are writing their version of what they feel happened with the oral traditions and add on to what they want. So I think genetics, in my opinion, plays a strong role. No matter how much samples people may have, we're acting like West Africa is like a small vacuum in all of this. The place was there, it existed, people lived there, they moved around, no big deal. I don't see what.
At the same time, like what Shamarka Keita would say, genetics will tell you the least. Well, because people are looking at markers that are like 40,000 years old and trying to make arguments as if the presence of a particular marker that's 40,000 years old indicates, you know, the place of origin. It's like,
Nah, that's crazy, because everybody comes from one spot. In Africa, we could trace the whole genome to one area. So we can't say everybody comes from the landmass that we call Africa today. If we want to be technical, anatomical modern day humans, we could always say that.
Not talking about that far back.
But no. So when you say 40,000, that's like a cop out, because we know markers, we know people have sequences within their DNA that mutates, and when it mutates, it becomes another haplogroup.
Yeah, so but you can't date.
You could do that. There are testing that people can.
No, you are. Let me break this down for you first of all.
All right.
Mathematics is not science. Let's get this clear. Mathematics is logic. It is deductive. A lot of what you're seeing in a lot of these scientific papers are statistical estimations in times. It's not factual. Mathematics is not facts. And until people get this in their head and understand the process, you know, you'll be making all kinds of claims. You don't want to be that person.
Well, you don't want that to be used as a soundbite because you just said mathematics is not facts.
It's not facts.
It's not facts.
2 + 2 is 4, and that's 4.
No, but see, in mathematics, there's a proof for 2 + 2 = 4.
Oh, but you just said mathematics is not facts.
Mathematics is not science.
You said it's not facts.
No.
It's not a fact. And mathematics is an abstraction. Mathematics is used as a model to show the relationship between facts.
Yeah, but it produces facts.
Math is not facts.
Does mathematics produce facts?
No, mathematics doesn't produce anything.
That's not true.
Come on, bro.
Evidence produced facts. Material things.
No,
mathematics is not a thing.
Check it out. If you got 4 sticks on the ground, if you're trying to calculate 4 sticks on the ground, evidence didn't produce the facts that there are 4 sticks on the ground.
There would have to actually be sticks on the ground.
Yeah, but now we're trying to deduct.
Listen to what I'm saying.
How many
the numbers are an abstraction.
At that point, when you're making that calculation, evidence becomes irrelevant at that point. You got the evidence is a number of sticks on the ground, an X variable.
Let me
calculate the fact of how many of them are there.
Listen, counting is an abstraction. And I don't know how else to explain this.
Probably got to source that up. Probably got to source up on that.
No, we don't disagree there, but I said you wouldn't want someone to use that as a soundbite because you said math ain't facts. And so you're giving a great demonstration on what you know.
Math is not a fact.
But
it shows the relationship.
It produces is facts. So math is facts.
So for example, I have on this, I have open in my hand Branches of Asanteism by Dr. Abdul Karim Bangura. Dr. Abdul Karim Bangura. I had him on my show. He has 5 PhD, 1 in political science, 1 in mathematics, 1 in computer science, 1 in linguistics, and I forgot the other one. But in his article on African mathematization, he provides a good definition in terms of he's showing the relationship between linguistics and mathematics. And so he says in this paragraph on page 177, thus, linguistics can generally be defined as the scientific study of language, while mathematics can be generally defined as the systematic study of change, quantity, relation, space, structure, and other topics dealing with entity, form, and pattern. Math is what you use to describe phenomena and the relationship between phenomena. It itself doesn't mean anything outside of a relationship to an object. And then even the concept of the object itself is subjective. Because we could talk about 2 sticks, but then how many cells of that stick are present?
No, you're making a very good point. And everything he said, I think, was true, but we have to keep in mind, you can use mathematics to calculate yourself to the moon. Okay? And it's a fact that you will arrive there once you arrive there.
But that is based on the idea that that is based on a number of experimentations. See, this is why, for example, when Einstein did his theory or created his formula, E = mc², energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. And there's actually talking about rest mass. That although it made sense logically, it still was not a proven thing, because in science, they rely on evidence, and mathematics is not science. I keep trying to tell folks.
Well, I hear you in that regard. Math would be superior to science because it produces.
It's not an issue of superior or not. I'm just saying, they're all tools.
There is a better tool than something. What do you mean? And math is the one that can get you there. Like the tool you using to find out, so to speak, whether West Africa, if math had a chance at it, I'm pretty sure it would produce factual results. You see what I mean? And not a lot of pointing two and two together. Because you're trying to put two and two together without using mathematics. You're going to use linguistics and all of these other things.
Language. It's just a language. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
I'm just speaking conceptually. I mean, I'm not speaking. I'm sorry. I'm just saying the philosophy of what you're doing is making an examination through linguistics, and also I'm sure I'm not limiting it to that. I'm sure you're using archaeology and the culture and a bunch of other stuff, but it's going to produce results that could only be considered facts. Not like mathematics produce facts. 2 is still 2, 4 is still 4, and the moon is still where they calculated it would be a long time ago. So those are real facts.
Yeah. Math is a little more deeper than science because it produces facts. Okay. Math, it says science. It says science seeks to understand some aspect of phenomenon and is based on empirical observation, while math seeks to use logic to understand and often prove relationships between quantities and objects, which may relate to no real phenomenon. Science theories may be supported by evidence, but not proven, while we can actually prove things in math.
Math, see, people use proof all out of context. Proof is
nah, man, it's from hold on. This is from the hold on now. This is man.
No, I'm agreeing with it. What I'm saying is that people use the word proof out of context.
Okay.
You only can prove something in mathematics and logic. You can't prove anything in science.
Right.
You know, so this is what I mean. Like people want to talk about methodology and science and don't know, they don't deal with this stuff every day. And this is
kind of. But who wrote that? What were you reading? Whose writing were you reading?
I was reading the blog. Shit. Hold on, let me get it. Shit.
Live sign.
I dealt with Asar enough to know he don't be talking about us when he necessarily saying you.
I know.
And there is a certain time when he is. But I was trying to figure out right now who he's talking about in particular, the writer of this article.
Yeah.
But I assume.
I wanna share my screen if I can.
Let me take mine. Go ahead. Yeah, the live science when it was also talking about how.
Yeah, he was reading live science, yo.
No, I wasn't.
There's another article. There's another article that it's people misuse proof.
Yeah, and this is just I just typed in math is not science, and you'll get a whole bunch of articles and things of this nature. And here's just one. It's a WordPress site, but you'll find the same things in any of these articles. And I like what it's saying here. It says, why do people think math is science? The short version of the answer is because many science. What'd you say?
We want to let you read. Sorry.
Let finish.
That was a good one though, right, Sean?
Yeah, it's a good one.
Let him read the article, blood.
I know he's dove in.
Ahead, man. Why y'all talking?
I was trying to figure out what was the name of it, Sean. Hold on, I'm letting him read. My fault.
Hold on.
I necessarily don't agree with the fact that math ain't science. I do remember hearing math ain't facts. Pull up that article.
No.
Math is like science, only with proof. That's the title of the article from.
Yeah, that was my objection to Smash. I was like, math is not. I'm thinking.
Yeah, well,
you gotta see. This is what
math ain't facts. Is what
I was
thinking.
Math is not facts. That's why, like when Unc Unc read what he read, y'all may have glossed over a critical thing in what it said. It said that often math, the conclusions of math will be supported by evidence or experiments, but in many of the cases it does not, because in order to do math, you can do math with things that don't even exist.
Yeah, I mean,
because it's logic.
Look,
that's what I'm trying to get people to understand. Math is logic.
I didn't think we'd go this far on it, but I do agree. I hear everything you point out, but I just simply what I said at first that started this was someone to use that as a soundbite against you. The way you
they use
you're
anything
correct.
as a soundbite. I'm not afraid of that.
I'm saying you're correct in saying math ain't facts because math ain't figured out. Math is a system, but it does produce results.
I can't think for everybody. I can't be in people's households and when studying and things of that nature.
All right, so listen to this.
But let me complete my reading though.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
You done read 2 sources already, so you read from.
I didn't read anything. I read the first 2 words, and y'all started talking.
You read from the book.
So now the short version of the answer is because 1, many scientists use a lot of math, and 2, a whole lot of math was discovered in order to answer a scientific question. Someone once asked Sir Isaac Newton if the mass of a planet could be considered to be concentrated in the center of mass. He answered in the affirmative, and in order to do so, he invented at least part of integral calculus. Both scientists and mathematicians perform exhaustive calculations. This makes them seem similar to people. One of the most mathematical fields, however, is economics, one of the humanities. One of the primary tools that mathematicians use in proving things is formal logic. Formal logic is one of the fields within philosophy. Another humanity. Alfred North Whitehead and Bertrand Russell tried to prove that all math could be deduced by first-order logic. Gödel's incompleteness theorem showed this was not possible, but the proof Gödel constructed illustrates that mathematics is more similar to formal linguistics than any of the natural sciences. A new piece of mathematics, or it says the contrast between math and science. A new piece of mathematics starts with a guess at something that might be true, called a conjecture. Some conjectures are resolved quickly by the person that proposed them. Others last for centuries. Fermat's theorem, for example, was actually a conjecture for over 350 years. It wasn't a fact until it was finally proved in 1995. Contrast this with the law of universal gravitation. This law was never proved logically. Rather, it agrees very well with numerous observations. It's also slightly wrong in some odd circumstances. Proven mathematical theorems are beyond question. The laws discovered by science are really good approximations that are often false in some circumstances or in small ways. The certainty of math arises from its completely abstract nature. It's what? It's completely abstract nature. A mathematical theorem never makes a statement about reality, which means it can't be a fact. A theorem connects a statement about what the situation is to a result of the situation. The fundamental theorem of arithmetic says every whole number factors into prime. Is going into some other stuff, but the point is
hold on. Let me just point out. You said a mathematical theorem. We all know that's not any mathematical equation. Yeah, a theorem, and the root word the theorem is a theory. So let's not go there. We talk about mathematical.
What are you talking about here? This is the actual sentence I read. The certainty of math arises of math of certainty of math arises from its completely abstract nature. I'm sorry.
Read the part about the mathematical theorem is what they're talking about. Like the Pythagorean theorem, we're into a different math. But if we talk about just the result,
listen, all things are proven. For it to be a quote unquote reality in mathematics, it has to have a proof to them.
Okay. And
it's from the proof that, and then some, go on to the theorem. They're all the same. A theorem embodies a larger body of proofs.
Exactly. And that's not necessarily.
But listen to what it says right beforehand. The certainty of math arises from its completely abstract nature. It's abstract. It's not. It doesn't represent reality.
But the certainty of it arises from that.
I'm sorry.
And the certainty of it is allowed to arrive from that. That's not a negative, that is abstract. The certainty of it, the pinpoint precision of mathematics is allowed because it is abstract.
No, the pinpoint is because it's logic. And so I wish I had my other my books with me, and I would show you, I would cite from you this page that talks about for example, proofs. See, in science, an argument can be later proved to be wrong because of the falsifiability aspect of the scientific method and things. In mathematics, once something has been proved, it cannot be unproved. You would never come up in the future and say that this is not proved.
So is that what can be unproven or cannot be falsified a fact?
It cannot be, a proof cannot be falsified in mathematics.
And would that be considered a fact?
No, the fact is the result, but the math itself is not a fact.
You're right. The math is the equations that we got there, but then after the equal sign, if the equation was correct, is what lies after the equal sign in any mathematical equation, the result or the sum, if correct, is that a fact?
It is true if the equations are true.
Okay, so the truth ain't a fact?
Hey, so it says
not necessarily. Let's look up fact.
No,
can
the
I
truth
jump in here
is
for
a
a
fact,
second?
bro. You know I deal with it.
Oh, let me jump in here for a second. Okay, so what is -6 plus -2?
-6 minus negative is a -4.
No, -6.
You said -6 minus negative, or you said, I'm sorry,
-6 plus -2 is -8.
Didn't I just say -4?
He said
-4, but it's -8 because I added it together.
You said -6 plus a plus.
Negative.
Oh, okay, plus a negative.
Yeah. So does -8 exist?
No, it does not.
-8 does not exist, but this is mathematics. So there's no such thing as -8 apples. Because -8 apples cannot exist as in reality. Therefore, it cannot be a fact, but it's mathematics. So it's okay for mathematics not to be facts. It's okay. It doesn't make it any less relevant. It doesn't make it any less important.
Quick question. So that analogy.
So, well, hold on. But do y'all get the point?
Well, you had Sean with the article I gave you.
I want to hear what Garfield said before I say what my response, because along the lines of that logic, -8 does exist if you have a total before.
Right here, yo.
No, -8 does not exist.
I got a better one.
Okay.
So you got
positive 8 doesn't
in the
exist.
physical realm.
So add -8 to 20 apples, and how many apples you got?
No, apples exist. The number 8 doesn't.
Yeah, but the
apples exist as a fact in reality. But remember, it's an abstract.
By the missing amount, it's not always. It's only.
I'll put it. Okay. Let's put it like this way.
You cannot have -8 apples.
Santa Claus is an
Yes,
abstraction.
you can. If you started with 20,
is Santa Claus a fact?
Listen, if you start with 20
Answer
apples,
the question.
If you start with 20 apples, we're still talking about something else before you propose that.
No,
if you start with 20 apples,
it's the same logic.
And add -8 to it. And how many apples you got?
Santa Claus.
You're talking about whole numbers, okay? I'm talking about integers here. Can you have -8 apples? Yes or no?
No, you cannot. But you can.
But however, we're talking about -8. -8 is in mathematics. We're talking about
philosophical argument.
But it's really, you got. Trust me. It's really a thing. -8 is really a thing. Like that's not a thing.
So by that same logic, Santa Claus is really
not necessarily.
Matter of fact, Jesus. Since this is 20 for 20.
Your logic.
Okay. Only thing I'm doing is talking about logic. It's just logic.
-8 to Santa Claus is crazy, bro. You can't even start that. Anyone listening to this would be like you just took a step down from all the knowledgeable things.
I don't know what time that was. That probably was.
I mean, no, but the point. Just listen to the point.
Like you said, that's a mathematical
-8 does not exist as a fact.
Can I give y'all some clarity here, please? Let's give it some clarity. So this is the understanding science, the science checklist applied to mathematics. It says 2 plus 2 equals 4 may not be rocket science, but is it science? Math is frequently associated with science and is certainly relied upon by scientists. The pages of any modern biologist, chemistry, physics, geology, and psychology journal are peppered with calculations, statistics, graphs, and mathematical models, but how much like science is math itself? And it says the answer depends on one philosophical views on the nature of mathematics. And in this area, the philosophies and mathematicians have not reached the consensus. For example, some view mathematics as a set of rules we've constructed for manipulating abstract entities, entities which may or may not have a relation to the real world. Others view mathematics as the deeply embedded structure of the natural world itself, which must be discovered, just as protons, neutrons, and electrons were discovered. Many others' views of mathematics also exist. Here we consider these common views of mathematics and use the science checklist to see how similar mathematics and science really are. And it gives us the checklist examples are focused on the natural world and how you deal with math, and then aims to explain the natural world and how you deal with math. And then you use testable ideas and how that relies. And then, you deal with your evidence and involve the scientific community. Like, it depends on what we're actually speaking to that will prove Assad's point, and that will also prove what Smash is saying as well, depending on what we're looking at.
I don't think it's that -8 or +8 exist or don't exist. I think it's the things that they're calculating that become fact. And so again,
that's just what I said.
But okay, I said we didn't disagree in totality. Remember, I just said we was focused on the point that you said math ain't fact. And
but
so
math is not. Math itself.
All the time I said people could use that as a soundbite against you because math produces facts. But
listen, what I'm trying to get you to understand is you can't be afraid of people misquoting you, no matter how.
Oh yeah, that's not a problem. But it started a wonderful conversation. Let's deal with it where we are at now. Because think about it. What Sanjetti proposes has a lot of weight on it, but -8 is no less fact than +8. Hold on. It's something that has to be calculated. That's the medium. -8 is no more less real than +8. You see what I'm saying?
No, hold on. No.
Okay, explain how it is.
Fam, listen.
Because you have to logically make it sense, Smash.
It's about logic.
It has to logically make sense.
It makes sense logically.
That's why I wanted to read this.
Yeah, but there's no such
but this is why I have to
world as -8.
Not why, because this is why. Let me show y'all why. Do any of y'all deal with the stock market? How many of y'all trade?
I just started again.
Okay, well, you're gonna learn that -8 is a real thing. Okay.
Hold on. Hold on.
See, you're getting me confused.
You're misconstruing.
When calculating value, -8 is a real thing.
Wait, hold on. Let's clarify.
It's still an abstraction.
You're misconstruing. Okay. So let's clarify so we can move forward with understanding. I didn't say you can't use -8. I said -8 does not exist in the physical world. That's why on the stock market, you're looking at screens, computer screens. You're not looking at -8. You can't put -8. You can't put -8 on the table.
But hold on, that's exactly my point on what Sharm was reading earlier. When people tried to make the argument that, and I know we haven't been.
Y'all got the logic that
I want to.
Because you guys are proposing that because it's negative, it has less.
Listen, Smash.
No.
Listen, that is not.
The -8 does not have no less indicator or value than the +8. I mean, you know what I mean?
No, they both have the same value on the number line. It's called absolute value. It's called absolute value. But let's move on. Listen, I didn't say that -8 does not have a significance. I just said that it doesn't exist in the physical world.
That's
okay?
like, I don't
That's
know
all I said.
how hard is that to understand?
It's not hard to understand. Y'all
Doesn't
the ones that
exist
got a
in real life.
logic that seem not to be economic, because money and numbers rule the world. So what are you talking about? -8 don't exist in the real world. When we live in,
Hold on, I just said, Smash, come on,
Hey, you
fam.
gotta let
You
him
making
finish,
it
though.
you making it
You
more
gotta feel
difficult
me.
than it
You're making
needs
it
to
more
be.
difficult,
ecosystem
and you
that
don't
makes
have
sense with
to.
trade and commerce first. And
Listen.
you're saying
Hey.
-8 don't exist.
I'll put it, okay, let's put it like this. Can you go out into nature and find me the number 8? And if so, what are the properties of number 8?
No, I can't find you the number 8, but I can find you 8 things, just like I said. And then listen, but didn't we say that 8, it needs an object? In order to get to -8, I would take
Exactly.
those 8
It is a
right?
property. It's just like
Actually,
energy.
hold on, wait a minute, hold on. We gotta stop here. You don't need physical objects in order for you to deal with the number 8.
That's the whole point.
It's an abstraction,
No,
because
no,
I can write a paper. I hear
listen, you, so Daddy. I
you
agree.
can get a paper and write the number 8.
I know, but
it doesn't mean you have 8 items.
I'm dealing with his question. He asked, could I walk into the world and find him an 8?
And it's no.
And the answer is no.
And the answer is no, because 8 doesn't exist. It's an abstraction. It's an idea. That's why mathematics is logic. It is not science.
So you're on my side because I said 8 was the same as -8. And you agreeing right now.
No, because if 8 was the same as -8, it would either be 8 or it would be -8. But -8 and 8 are two different numbers.
Okay, but quantitatively, they represent opposite spectrums of the same thing.
It's not necessarily opposite spectrums.
Quantitatively, they are opposites.
Oh, okay. All right. So the point here is this.
I want to get back to the stock market.
Hold on. Let us finish what we're saying.
No, but y'all didn't let him finish about the stock market part. That was valuable.
Yeah, because we are talking economics.
No, but it's he's making it more difficult, because all you're doing in a stock market is
not just the stock market. Listen. In any economy, negative integers are real.
No, we didn't say that you don't use them.
Okay,
we're saying they don't exist in the physical realm. That's why you're always looking at it.
What is that in the physical realm?
What it is you in the physical realm, it's deductive reasoning. You're deducting stuff and you're.
And how is that reason? By negative calculations.
It is not. Listen. You already listen. The argument ended once you said that you can't find the number 8 out in nature.
Well,
you're saying that it doesn't exist.
I agree, and I don't.
Okay, so there's nothing to argue about here. It's an abstraction.
I think we're trying to line up our ideologies, because again, if we would go into an argument that, saying these things again aren't real, or they don't speak facts.
But
that won't fly so far.
Listen. When I had this big debate online about energy, people was running around saying the word energy as if it was a physical thing that exists. Energy doesn't exist. It is a property of matter. It is a mathematical abstraction to describe a property of matter and its potential to move or its actual movement, or to be able to do work. Energy doesn't exist. The number 8 doesn't exist. It's just like height doesn't exist. You can't go out in nature. Listen. You can't go out in nature. Listen. Can you go out in nature and find me height?
You said you made that point already.
Okay, so it's like, I don't know what the argument. There is no but. What we're saying here is that mathematics is an abstraction. It is not science. It is logic. And we can find tons of sources who makes this argument. Matter of fact, I'm looking at I have it on the screen here, and I'm gonna stop sharing the screen. A scientific fact is a repeatable, careful observation or measurement by experimentation or other means, also called empirical evidence. So when we're talking about science, you can't do that. You can't equate science, the scientific fact, with mathematics.
That's all.
Yes.
I can't hear you because you're a cutoff artist today, yo. Like, God damn, let somebody else say something. Shit.
First of all, y'all have cut me off. I don't know how many times in this show.
We ain't never cut you off. Go back and listen to the tape, yo.
Brother, I guarantee you, when you listen to the tape, you will see me starting to talk, and then y'all just have a whole different conversation about.
I mean, it's a good, healthy conversation, so I like it. Old school Amenra squad.
Exactly. Y'all see, what's the name? Garfield have y'all believing Santa Claus is real in Jesus, and for his 20 for 20.
So let me break it down. So again, don't disrespect value, because math is great at calculating value, and that's one of the most reasons why we need it. And if you trade in value, negative numbers are real. Nations get killed and taken down over negative numbers.
Yeah, that's like, but it's a subjective thing. It's like saying disrespect.
Whatever the trade item is.
Period.
Yeah, listen.
Let's do this. Okay, all right, Jonathan. Just so we can move on. I just need you to just acknowledge that I said that because an abstraction is there, I didn't say that it's not used. -8 does not exist in the physical realm. However, it is used.
I acknowledge that you said that, my brother, and then I would like you to say that +8 ain't used in the physical realm. It's the same exact thing for +8. That's all I'm saying. Unless you have objects you either deducting from or quantifying, you see what I'm saying? Then they're all just numbers in the air.
Yeah, I mean, okay, but I also want you to recognize that there's no such thing as -8 apples.
That's not necessarily true, but whatever. Again,
no, it's okay. There's no such thing as negative apples.
If you started with
there's no such thing as -8 apples.
Look, if you started with 300 apples and you got 292 apples, how many are missing?
Well, I'm not talking about subtraction.
-8 is still the numbers are still doing what they did in every instance.
Now
that
you're
we're
using a
speaking about.
subtraction problem. I didn't bring up a subtraction problem. All I gave was what's called an imaginary number. In mathematics,
matter of fact, it's called imaginary for a reason.
It's called imaginary number.
We understand that. I understand. I'm not.
Okay. The reason they call it imaginary numbers, i.e., unreal numbers, is because they're not real.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean you can't use them. I need you to acknowledge that part.
I got that part. I understand that clearly. That's not hard to grasp. That's not getting around what I said.
You know what I'm saying? It is getting around what you said.
No, it's not.
Y'all just don't. Y'all just want Jesus to exist.
Response to that. It's not getting around my response. My response to that was 8 exists in the same regard.
Oh, well, -8 and +8 is just talking about relationship on the number line.
Exactly. But everything
in
you
its
just said
relationship
about
to
-8
is
could be said
distance from
about
zero.
+8.
Right, but negative.
Right. So you.
Okay. So negative. There's no such thing as -8 apples, but you can have 8 apples.
I hear that. I hear that because we're talking about something objects that we're quantifying again. And once you get to 0, there's no more objects to quantify. But if you have over 0, negative is real. You're just getting shit taken away from you.
No, you're talking about subtraction. I'm not talking about subtraction.
Somebody go to jail, how many years is taken off their life? That's a negative that's real.
That's a figurative statement. Yeah, the correct thing is how many years absent in terms of their freedom in a normal everyday world. It has gone. It's not. It's not negative. They're still living in time into the future.
We're going to arrive at the result of that by calculating using mathematics and coming to a fact of exactly how long they've been in jail, regardless of what you're talking about.
It's still an abstraction.
Mhm.
But still, but it's a
Y'all
fact.
is funny, man. Y'all is
Hold
funny.
on. Let me say this. Now.
I've been laughing the
I
whole
love
time.
it. I
I want
love
to Asar real quick. So Asar, we know that energy is a measurement, correct?
Yes.
Okay, but it's a tangible thing.
Okay, then what are its properties?
I'm saying the property is if I smack the shit out somebody, they gonna move. So the thing is, the only way you know how much
That's not a property of energy.
Me off in the middle of what I'm saying. I told you.
Because you're messing up stuff already, just all willy-nilly, all
me,
wrong.
But let me mess it up though. I want to be able to mess up and then you correct me, but let me mess up. Hell, I'm saying is if you smack the shit out somebody and they fall on the ground, you can measure the amount of energy that was in your blow. But you can't tell a person that wasn't real. They lip busted, they knocked out. It was real.
No, the hitting them in the face was real. Energy itself is not real. That's why I asked you for a property. What's its shape? What is its weight? What is it made out of? How many atoms is in an energy?
Well, you know,
in an energy joule.
You know, it's transferred, right? Energy.
No. It's a limitation of language.
But I'm just saying, it's transferred from one.
Listen.
Well, am I wrong?
Listen, it's you can use the word converted or whatnot. Okay. So when we talk about, like, for example, sunlight, which turns into chemical energy, which turns into food, which then can turn into mechanical energy in a living organism, for example. You're just describing different types of movement, but what you aren't doing is describing what energy is. If energy was real and a thing, it would be made of atoms, or it would, if you subscribe to the plane system, it'd be an agitation of a plane. So, like, when you talk about a field, like with quantum field theory, like light is just a photon's agitation of the electromagnetic field, for example, like a graviton for the gravity field, et cetera, et cetera. So when you talk about energy, it would have to be made up of something. That we would use numbers to calculate in terms of, for example, how many neutrons and electrons are in its orbital or something like this. That's not how energy is used. And so, like, people have this hard time. This is why, like, people don't grasp science really well, because we have evolved. Listen to what I'm saying. We have evolved to try to concretize everything.
But I'm simply saying that you can't say energy is not real.
Right.
What you say is it's a measurement, though. Because you knocked it on the ground and you bleeding.
Listen, when I asked Smash, where can you find height in nature? It's acting almost in a similar fashion.
It's the same way. It's relative to what you're dealing with.
It's an abstraction. It's a measurement in your head.
So it's not abstraction.
Height is not a thing that you can go and get and measure, and it's consistent of certain atoms and things.
Then, am I correct? So hot and cold is on the same thing, correct?
Yeah, because that's relative.
Okay, all right, okay.
These are properties of matter. So when you talk about what is hot, what you're doing is calculating the speed at which the atoms are moving in a particular type of material or substance. Or cold. Now, we feel a physical sensation when we touch the things, but this is why, again, we got to learn the difference between a property of something, which is an abstraction, and the thing itself.
For example, let's take blood pressure, all right? So I'm just pulling from my own field. So when you deal with blood pressure, you're dealing with systolic and diastolic. So you get the top number and you got the bottom number. So they'll tell you that the average is 120/80, right? Which you technically want to be below 120, but that's a whole nother topic. So the measure is, say, like 120 millimeters of mercury. Okay, so it's MM and then Hg, which is on the periodic table based on another abstraction. We're doing abstraction, but we're doing with quantities. But anyway, so what that pressure is how far in distance can the atoms push mercury in a tube in a distance, the distance being millimeters, excuse me. So eventually that becomes an abstraction later because it's a measurement talking about the relationship. So when I'm dealing with, let's say, a patient and I need to administer medication, I have to use logic. Because if this patient's blood pressure, let's say, is 179 over 117, I can't give certain medication. So I got to use logic. Oh, logically, I have to get the person's pressure down so that I can do this. Because hypothetically or logically, I can't do such and such. Based on scientific evidence because of certain things that happened in the past. Do I know that if I get this person's blood pressure down now, that they can take this medication without any issues? Technically, I don't know that. I'm only going off of logic, which is an abstraction. So I can use abstractions which don't actually exist as a fact in order to have a certain outcome, because I know that more than likely, statistically, which is another abstraction, I can use this because I've seen it, because I've witnessed it work. So this goes back to Smash's example of the stock market. So there's numbers and things that don't actually exist, but I can use them to my advantage.
But Sajetti, you on the SARS talking to white man talk though.
And hold on. You the first one on some evolution type stuff. We argued with the community.
And but check this out. Watch this. Even the white man stuff.
Yeah,
I bet you. Somebody come see me, and they done passed out. Let's see how much we're thinking about white man stuff when I only have 1 minute to save your life when I'm doing CPR.
Yeah, that's a fact. But you know how people say in the community, you hit them with something with some deep thought, you gotta really figure it out. That's thinking ass swears the white man did that. When we know where math kind of comes from. So I just want to, I don't want to stay right there, but that was a good conversation. That's basically how we do it. We ain't agreeing with everything. We're gonna hash it out. And so
it's the Fight Club that Smash and Naim then was talking about earlier.
Yeah, you know how we do.
Yeah, that's how we do. Yeah, so I don't know where we're gonna fit at on that Jabari issue. So I don't know how I don't know.
Matter of fact, we taking over Dagger Squad. It's gonna be the Almond Dagger Squad show. From this day on.
Diving in whenever you go live off film. Jesus ain't real, no matter what you say, no matter how many white people you bring on here to back that up. It's not real.
Hell no.
Anyway, the Iwa people left figurines all the way from West Africa all up into the white man area, dude, of Nana. They left some of the most archaeological evidence of anybody trying to connect West Africa to Kemet all the way through the
yeah, you killed me. That's in your book, ain't it? That's in your book, right?
Yeah, it's in my book, in the article about the mother goddess El Shaddai.
Damn, I knew it. I'm slipping. Because I knew it. I was hoping you ain't open your damn mouth. You opened your mouth.
You just answered the question.
Dang. I ain't mean to ask that shit. Yeah, I gotta fall on that side. That's crazy. I forgot about the mother goddess, though. That was in the damn the mother goddess. And we went to the damn museum and we seen it. It was crazy as hell. Yeah. We was in New York Museum of Natural History, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, they found. Yeah. That's starting West Africa.
Yeah, they had it. Yep. They had the figurines there. Remember, you was breaking it down. You was like, yeah, that's the such and such band, and they come and they had it all over too. It was crazy as hell. Yeah. Dang. Yeah.
I mean, but I don't want to get pseudo, and y'all can beat me up though. So I'm gonna throw this out there. What about the times when? We always imagine the Nile and the Sierra, the Sahara being how it is now. But do anybody believe there was a time when it was actually fertile and wasn't so hard to traverse? And maybe even, let me throw this out there, that the Nile might have ran west like Herodotus proposed in his writings?
Yeah,
It's not even a hypothetical. It's
ain't
all
hypothetical.
kind of scientific journal articles and books. I cite some in Alluja Volume 2 regarding the Sahara. There's like whole books on the fertile Sahara and the monsoon rains and the whole process of how the desertification. Matter of fact, that's how you get a lot of the travels from even the Middle East into the Delta, because of the desertification, the re-desertification process. It had people scrambling trying to find water.
What about comments on Herodotus saying that the Nile ran west at one time?
It's possible. I haven't kept up with any scholarship on that specific point on Herodotus and the Nile west, but we do know that, like in one of the sources that I use in Alluja Volume 2, that the Nile at this point was not privileged. It was just like a normal, just a normal river, because there were so many others and lakes. And, when you think about, for example, the great Mega Chad, like Chadic Lake was a lot. It was, like its own country, how big it was, and going into those parts. And then, of course, the stuff dried up when the monsoon rains after the last glacial period ended, because it drew all the moisture from that area. And so the monsoon stopped coming north, and the Sahara and the Middle East started drying up again. And so it goes through these cycles every so often.
Yeah, they got satellite imagery that shows it was ancient lake beds and rivers all connecting. Like, if you're familiar with Lake Mega Chad, y'all can look it up. Lake Mega Chad. So based off of satellite imagery, they know that all these ancient lakes and stuff was actually connected together. It wasn't just the Nile. A lot of waterways, so people could travel back and forth. And so, you can actually look that up. So Asar answered that part about, of course, the Sahara dried up and was back and forth based off of the tilt wobble of the earth. Okay, the rain, the monsoons, right? And prior to that, the river systems was all connected. So I'm just trying to figure out how the hell would Herodotus know that these rivers was traveling in certain direct? That's crazy, because they was. And it's right there. You can see it. You can pull up a whole map, and they got the satellite imagery of all these different maps, and they got them actually, they give you the names. It's crazy. So that's all there. So yeah, people was traveling waterways all in the Sahara, the whole 9 yards. It's not what we think today. So right, people, and don't forget that at 160,000 years during the Ice Age, Africans traveled all the way from the Rift Valley, Ethiopia, all the way down to South Africa, found the coast, and then when it got better, they end up migrating back to West Africa in all different points.
So this is what gets me, how people can understand and will in one breath say that the Africans left Africa and literally walked around the world and settled and created groups of people. But then you start talking about migrations from Sudan or Egypt to West Africa, then all of a sudden that's too far to walk. And it's interesting because, for example, the Zonde people who live in Central African Republic, like right there where Cameroon is, they're not from West Africa. They're from Sudan. Whole group of people. Like, people have been migrated, that's why I can't wait till I publish, this book. Like, people be sleeping on Africans. And that's what I'm tired of, the people sleeping on Africans, making it seem like Africans were only able to do certain things once white folks and Arabs came with no technology to do this. You don't need a vast amount of technology to walk several months. Matter of fact, in Alluja Volume 2, I talk about a migration from South Africa all the way to, where is it? Hold on one second. And I contrast this with with people migrating in Egypt. Here we go. So they walked from this one place in Maseko, South Africa, all the way to way above where Mozambique and stuff is. They left from KwaZulu Natal to a place now called Maseko Ngoni, but this is in Malawi. And so and this is a group of people. And so this small village, they walked 2,336 kilometers. That's 1,451 miles, or actually to be more precise, 1,451.523 miles. And so what I started doing was just calculating like how far that is, and how far you can go. And this was just in a few years, you know, just stopping, chilling for a bit, then going on some more. And so like, if you calculate from Cairo, Egypt to Juba in South Sudan, that's only 2,789 kilometers, or 1,733 miles. If you was to take a southwest direction, roughly about the same distance from Cairo to N'Djamena, that travel distance is 2,595 kilometers, or 1,613 miles. You know, if you started your point for, let's just say in Aswan, further south in Egypt, and you just travel 1,500 miles, you'd be in Uganda. And so roughly this same distance that these folks, and there's no cars at this time, these people just up and left and migrated and settled in Malawi. You know, roughly, what is that, 1,500 miles. So you walk in, that just takes a year or two. And for a group of people, you know, families, it just takes, you know, several months.
Yeah.
And so, you know, again, people, that's why I'm like, y'all, people don't know Africa. Africans migrate and walk. Just because you see the people there today doesn't mean they've always existed there. And you always start off with that axiom when you're doing your research.
Yeah, that's detailed in Destruction Black Civilization. But here you go, right here, you got a migration map. And so it's obviously clear that if you look in Africa, it's obviously clear that they migrated all over the continent and they walked around the world. So, I mean, so yeah, it's just time. How long did it take? So that's not an impossible thing. Homo sapiens is actually built for walking and running. Absolutely. So, but this map clearly shows that they walked everywhere. It wasn't like they had cars, buses, and planes. Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, they walked everywhere. That's a fact. Walking machine. Matter of fact, it was a guy that actually walked. Damn, I think he walked. I think he was walking around the world. It was crazy. He was walking. It just take time.
That's all if people don't know, like I've known, there's a brother at Texas Southern University in Houston when I was in college, who was, I think, protesting police brutality or something like this. And he walked the United States, like across the United States, either from New York, like back down to H-Town, or it was like from Cali to something. He just walked. Like this was one person, and it just took him several months to do it. And I'm like, people act like, you know, because we drive today, we take planes. So, you know, us and our laziness due to technology, we can't imagine ourselves walking everywhere. But not everybody was settled farmers and builders of large civilizations and migrated everywhere. People were just, you know, semi-nomadic. You know, they'll settle in a part during, for example, a dry season, or a rainy season, and then go travel somewhere else in different times. And the Fulani people have been traveling, you know, between West and East Africa and even the Middle East for millennia. And, you know, so this is what I mean. Like, I just don't get what the heck are these people studying? you know, when they try to make these arguments that these people weren't traveling and they somehow can't travel. Some people have argued that they can't travel, that, you know, the desert is inhospitable. Please, it's for folks who live in the desert.
Hey, I don't want to offset the conversation, but I got a question we was having that y'all didn't get a chance to chime in on. I think we was talking about, if my mic is clear, we was talking about how long Jews have been in the area of Kemet. Historically, not necessarily biblically or anything. And do you got anything in your research to find what time periods do you have Jewish people in Africa?
Well, that's a loaded question, because you have to establish, because there's a difference between people who lived in the Levant and Semitic speaking people, and then Jews. Mm-hmm. So we have to have a firm
going by that name.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't say, because there's no evidence to my knowledge of Jews specifically.
Right.
You know, living, but we know that there are people from the Levant who have been going and living and settling in Egypt since pre-dynastic times, and vice versa. And so that's something else that I cite in Aluja Volume 2, that the Egyptians had colonies in Egypt. Excuse me, the Egyptians had colonies in the Levant in pre-dynastic times.
Palestine.
Mm-hmm.
In Palestine, yeah.
You know,
the triangle trade, yeah.
So, like, you know, when we had these discussions on influence and stuff to this nature, we have to keep all of this in mind. But yeah, Jews specifically, yeah, that's a hard one. You know, I know that they were in Egypt, you know, or at least, but even still, they don't necessarily have to be in Egypt, because they can be influenced because they were colonized and certain ideas and things. Because like when you read the script, you know, they start naming stuff in the Old Testament that, you know, is relevant to the language and stuff to that nature in Egypt. So we know that there was some kind of relationship, at least in these times. But Jews specifically, I don't think you can find an Egyptian text that verifies that Jews were there.
Hey, we've been on for over 3.5 hours. I'm gonna wrap it up with you guys, man. Thanks for not the 20 for 20.
After party on Sean's channel.
Yeah, somebody fire up that channel for the late night shit.
All right. Sutek in the chat, so I'm gonna set it up and get it going. I'm gonna send y'all the link.
Eddie, Naya, Ash Rockwell, Sean, Asar, Motep, Anquest.
You gotta keep talking, yo. I gotta set it up. I need some time. Give us 5. Give me 5 minutes.
Hey, give me 5, give me 4, give me 3, give me 2, give me 1, and we out. All right, man. Hey, thank you guys, man. Appreciate it. I got a couple of people coming up in March. Christopher Rollins. I know Asar probably are familiar with him. He's a he did with like the Middle East linguistic stuff. What's his name? Christopher Rollins or whatever. So yeah.
Hey, so I mean, man, Garfield, man, appreciate you letting the squad come through, man. I think it was important. And we just wanted to show people how we do, man. We just, you know, we talk, we have conversations. We don't agree with everything. We hash it out. And I think it's an important lesson. It ain't personal, man. It's just business, man. And then shit, if somebody say something to make more sense of what you had, then you gotta be willing to change that. You know what I'm saying? So it's just part of us learning as Homo sapiens sapiens, because that's what Homo sapiens sapiens do. So I appreciate, you know, your allowance to come through, man. Appreciate all the brothers and sisters on the squad, man. It's a good thing. And yeah, Jabari, just go ahead and just admit that, man. You know, y'all made that up. It'd be good.
No, but Asar, when you read the article though, you might not like the first paragraph. He actually yeah.
Did a good job.
Yeah, I missed that. That's part of the conversation I wasn't here for.
Well, I think those are two different things, that Kemetic orthology or whatever, and African tradition. You know what I'm saying? The way that they pseudoize it don't got nothing to do with the traditions that come up out of West Africa. And I hope we weren't conflating the two things.
No, we were saying
I'm kind of confused on that whole West African thing, but I mean, it is what it is. It's late, you know.
No, you ain't confused on that. We talking about you got the article, Sinjetti, when we send it to you.
You can send it to me. Is that you know, I didn't read that.
The article that Richard Carrier wrote regarding Jabari's information. I don't think there's nothing that he said in it that I would disagree with as far as the information and the methodology. As far as the whole chemitism, I don't know, I'm kind of half asleep, so I'm not even concerned too much about how people different, class us or whatever. You're always going to have people having misinformation regardless, as far as saying chemitism. And I do get what Sanjay was saying earlier, as far as, asking somebody who is in the craft and what they're doing. So when you're using terminologies, you might be misusing it and not using it the right way. So I think Asar also addressed that as far as, chemitism and all that stuff. But
what they don't understand is that for African people, when we do scholarship, white people can separate themselves from the scholarship that they do. When Africans do scholarship, it's for the purpose of advancing our community. And so a lot of times when people are doing this research, they're doing it to improve their lives in some form or fashion. Whether they internalize this in terms of spirituality, whether it's economics or something to that nature. So he can't separate for the people. Like, why would, somebody like a Jabari or equivalent, be attaching themselves and wanting to recreate? Because that's not what we do in the African world community. When we do something, when we research, it is always for the advancement of our agenda and our people. There's no separation, like, knowledge for knowledge's sake. And that's the difference. And so if you don't come with that framework and that understanding, you won't understand a Jabari or anybody that does what they do.
Yeah, and to add to that point, we're studying, even myself, when I'm reading Kemetic literature, I'm looking for inspiration, and I find it all the time. What principles can I use and adapt to my current thinking and situation now? I find it all the time. Ethics and morals, because if we criticize, and I'm talking about from a philosophical, it could be religious or ethical standpoint, if we criticize and say, well, you Christians, you got everything from African people. All these religions got all the stuff from African people. And then many will hone in on Kemet. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, as far as personally, at least the Muslim can quote his own Quran, right? At least the Christian can quote his or her own literature in the New Testament. How many, and I mean this as not a way to attack, so I don't want no one using that, but how many people in the Kemetic tradition, now I'm talking about African Americans and Africans on the continent who do as well, can quote Kemetic literature? But it's off the top of the dome. So this is something that I criticized myself, and then I sought to be the change that I wanted to see. Mm-hmm. So I can quote Kemetic literature off the top of my head.
Can I ask Sanjay and Asar a question? And
Garfield, that's different.
Hold on.
That's a different issue.
Hold on 1 second. Okay, you know what? Finish this issue, and then I'll ask the question.
No, I'm saying that's a different issue with a person quoting Kemetic literature or West African or whatever. It's different from taking it and doing what the Hebrews do. They make these crazy ass outfits. All that shit they wasn't dressing like that in Palestine and Judea.
I mean,
and we act like that's what they was doing.
But that's irrelevant.
If those brothers want to dress
listen,
that
let me
way,
finish. Let me close it out.
I'll leave them alone.
No, let me close it out. Just let me close it out. I'm just simply saying it's okay for them to be energetic or just vigorous and happy and just, you know, being creative, but just don't say that's what they did. That's always my issue.
But hold on, this is why.
I'm saying, so the same reason you can't do it on that side. So my point is, where do we draw the line? If that's the case, everybody can do what you said, Asar, a couple minutes ago. Everybody can do what you said, Sanjetti, a couple minutes ago. At what point do we realize what the difference is? And I'm saying that's always been that for me. I don't mind you being creative, but don't say that these particular Africans was atheists if they wasn't. Y'all don't let me get away with it, so I sure as hell ain't gonna let nobody get away with it. So if y'all leave me alone with that, and we'll just say, all right, everybody can do like they want to do, or we gotta do what we gotta do. It's just as simple.
But
like if it was atheists, they wasn't.
Everybody can do what they want to do regardless. That's their right as agent beings. But my question then is, okay, for example, what is Jabari and them wearing that the ancient Egyptians did not wear? Like, people throw that claim out there, but I don't think they studied enough Egyptian art to make that argument.
Man, like that big ass Ankh, man.
First of all, on my book cover,
there's large
you see
on the walls. So that's where they got it from.
Nah, ain't nobody running around outside with no big Ankhs on their heck. Stop. Y'all made that up. I'm sitting right here.
Well, no, you're not listening, and I don't think you will.
No, we'll listen. No, we'll listen.
I'm telling you where Heru got it from. I just told you.
Where you get it from?
He got it from looking on the walls. That's where we got it. You don't need to make up something and stretch it. I told you where he got it from.
No, got what from, Sanjetti?
Carrying an Ankh.
Who carried the Ankh, Sanjetti, around on their Ankh? Was it deities that did that?
And people, it shows it on. That's where he got it from. That's it. There's nothing else. He got it.
You can see on I took this photo here in the Nubian Museum. This brother is wearing, this is a statue of him wearing the Ankh on his chest.
No, we ain't say that. That ain't.
But they were wearing Ankhs as jewelry, and you saw deities and things carrying Ankhs and kings or whatnot. And so, you know, where are we getting this?
Here you go, son.
The hat with the big Ankh on it. I want to see that picture.
Yo. So I put the link. I put the link in the messenger, and I sent it to y'all.
Hold on. In the pyramid.
Hey, I'll change my position, Sanjetti. Just send it to me,
bro. Hold on, bro. Because again, this is outside of your realm, and I'm telling you.
They don't got no
text. It talks about rituals where they take an Ankh and put it to your nose. This stuff is in the text.
Now, I want to see them with big giant Ankhs running around on their arms. I want to see them with big Ankhs on their hats, and I will officially take that statement away. That's what I need to see. Now, if I can't see it on the walls,
you're stretching. I'm telling you that Ankhs were used in.
Nah, man.
Okay, bro, stop that. You did it for years to stop. Okay.
No, just send it to me. I don't believe you, Daddy. I can just not believe you.
But this is what I mean here.
No,
if you don't deal with the text,
y'all not fair, dude. That's not right.
I know it's
not right. Where's it in the text though, Asar? Where is it at in the text though? I can read it. I can read it. Uncle might not, but I can read it. So give me the text.
No, I'm the one that said that. It's in the pyramid text, and it's in the coffin text. I said that.
And what did you say specifically, Sanjetti? Because I'm being non-combative. I'm just not gonna let y'all sit up here and tell me anything. Y'all should be able to show me. Y'all can read it. Sean can read it, and we should be able to see dudes with big ass Ankhs on their hats. I'll shut the hell up. I would like just let me. I should.
But hold on. Let's just say if they wear Ankhs on their clothes.
Why does that bother? Let me say something. Why does that bother you to the point.
No, no, it was a question asked.
No, I'm asking. I got you. I got you. We can move on. I'm asking you.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me.
Psychological.
It doesn't bother me. It bothers me when people like you and Asar mix and match and act like that ain't what I'm asking y'all. I'm simply saying, show me where they do that at.
Okay, we got you.
Saying,
now, I'm asking you
necessarily do it, but that's
why does that bother you? I'm just shut up. Where you do whole shows or show segments where you're bashing as if you're going to change somebody's behavior. This is what I'm asking. Why does it bother you? But then you tell me it doesn't bother you, but you exhibit the behavior of someone in which it bothers.
I actually told you what bothers me. The lie is the part that bothers me, Jetty. The same way you tell me, don't say they atheists. Do you not?
But hold on. My question is, did you ask them? Listen,
Sanjetti, why does that bother you if I say they was atheists? Why does that bother you? You're not going to change the behavior. See how we could do that? Right. It doesn't make any sense.
No. The question is,
you have a right.
The question, hold on.
I never said they didn't, though. I've never said that they don't have a right to have big giant unks. I never said that they don't have a right to put unks on their hat. That's called creativity. That's dope.
But even still, my question is, did you even ask them?
They don't have a right to act like that's what they was doing in Egypt. That's the right they don't have without verifying. That's all I'm saying.
The question is, did you ask them? Did they make the argument that the ankh on the hat was in? No, you asked them, the ones who actually doing it. See, you're making an assumption. But listen. This isn't personal. This is an issue of methodology.
Okay.
You made an assumption on their part, and you're making it seem as if they are arguing that the unks were worn on the heads, and that this is a proper thing, and that this is ancient. Did you ask them if that was the case? So this would be doing, in terms of field research. This is what we call field research. So did you ask them?
I would only have to ask Sanjetti.
No, you don't just ask me in field research. You ask me
because that's
other people.
That's poor methodology.
They're not answering the questions, Asar. Unc ain't gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. They're not answering the questions that are posed and asked. Instead of saying that they made some of the stuff up, they're not answering.
Hold on, wait a minute. Let me also clear this up. See, when we say something, say the phrase "made something up," typically that has a connotation of invalid. That's why I'm very careful about how I phrase things. Like, for example, I've never ever said to Unc about his ideas of real Black atheism, I never said to him, "You made that up."
Because I said it before you got a chance to, because I did make it up. I understand you made it up differently.
One question, do you understand the point?
No, my point is when I say you made something.
No, the point that I made, I didn't ask you about your point. I said the point that I just made.
Yes, I just don't agree.
Okay.
Telling the person they made something up invalidates it. It simply made you're the person that.
No. I didn't say that. You weren't listening. I didn't say that. I said that it has the connotation, meaning implication, that something is invalid.
Okay.
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 So if I'm saying something and you happen not to understand it, and then you respond, "Oh, you made that up," you're implying it's invalid. Okay, so we're all on the same page?
No, we're not. I'm implying that the person that said it made that up. That's what I'm implying, though, Sanjetti.
You just already.
Where can I find the boat of Ra ritual?
The boat of Ra?
Yeah.
Did you ask them directly where they got it from?
I got shunned. I was told that I was irrelevant. So I asked, where can I find the literal going to the Nile River and baptizing people in the Nile? Where can I find that? What I don't want to do is go point for point, because I got like a host of claims that these people have made, and then when I ask specific questions so that I can go get clarity,
can I ask
don't get answers.
Who did you ask? Because who you ask makes a big difference.
hold on 1 second, Sanjay. Can I ask one question and I'll mute my mic and you guys could rock it out for another 30 minutes? The one question I want to ask, and I argue with Sean every day about this. Does the word Tamahu means white man?
Oh no, they won't stick with the hell no.
No, it doesn't. We can move on.
Does Sanjay? No.
No.
Asar?
No.
Sean?
No, man.
Okay.
Now here's the thing. Watch
All right.
this.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate
Going
it.
back from the 1990s, because I used to believe that. Okay.
I saw it in Cesar's
the 90s.
Did you see that in Cesar's book, Sanjay?
I'm sorry?
White man's whatever. Yeah, it was.
But you also have to clarify that if somebody is arguing that that's the literal meaning, or if they're referring to a people who just happen to be white by our modern definition. So if you look at, I'm saying that we have to be able to distinguish if somebody is making the argument that the word Tamahu means white man versus the word Tamahu referring to a group of people who in our modern times we would consider white folks or close to. So it's just like when you say the Amu, right? And referring, in the literature, they'll say the Asiatics. But if we wanted to say the white man, we could say the white man. It wouldn't mean that the word Amu means white man, but we know who we're referring to. Because when we look at Jews and stuff to this nature, we consider them white folks. And so we have to be clear in our questioning.
Okay, Asar, let me ask you this straight up. In the 90s, I used to use the term Tamahu. When I used to go to slave theater, a lot of elders used to use it. A lot of people used to use it.
Yeah.
It is in reference to white people or to the European. So instead of saying the white man, they will say the Tamahu.
Yeah.
On the laws in Kemet, does it mean white people are the white man?
No. But that's my point. So for example, when Dr. Marimba Ani says Yurugu,
right.
Yurugu it does not mean white person. But now we use the term to refer to white people.
Okay, I got you.
You get what I'm saying? So it's an irrelevant thing. Just calling them the white man. Like you're not going to find in our old literature us referring to them as the white man. But that's a kind of a modern thing as a result of our interactions, our negative interactions with people from Europe. So we call it the white man.
All right. Sean, where's the link in the chat? Because you already started the other show.
That's the pyramid text.
Right.
It is, right?
Teddy, Asar, Corey, Sean, Naya, Dr. Mayat, peace and love. Thank you guys, man. Appreciate it.
Jetty, that's the pyramid text, right?
Yeah. Hold on, because I'm trying to approximating the transliteration, but I want to give him the just give him, because this is for any here read, so you can have an idea of what it's saying. Okay. So in this section, if you have James P. Allen's pyramid text, I'm sure you do. So just type in the search Ankh, it'll come up.
Okay.
It should be on page 319. So I'll put it here, page 319.
All right.
And that section is in that ritual is where they're presenting items after they're doing a jet nadu, or a word spoken or recitation. And it's the pyramid text of neat. So anyone out there who thinks that women didn't have pyramid text, this is demonstration to the contrary.
Okay, I got it. I'll read it. I'm not trying to be, I'm not what you're thinking. I ain't on that, Sanjay.
And remind you that there are other items presented like a flail, fingers, not human fingers, just molds of fingers, like made out of clay. So there's other items, but the Ankh is used in that ritual.
Gotcha. All All right, so yeah, man, I'm not going. I wouldn't try to trick you, Jay. When I'm really saying the person made it up, I could understand you thinking, okay, I'm invalidating. I'm simply saying based off of what we're talking about, that particular statement you made is personally your statement. It doesn't align with the evidence. It aligns with what you're making up. That's what I mean. So if a person said, yo, you made up real black atheist, I'm gonna say, of course I did. So my issue has always been, we do have agency. And you're right, we shouldn't care about what a person does like that. But my point is, we got people looking at us and learning, and whether they're doing it on purpose or not, people actually think that this is exactly what they was doing in Kemet. That's all I'm saying. And I think,
but but keep in mind that we don't claim this is exactly how things were done in Kemet.
I know you don't, Sanjetti. That's why I don't know why you fight me so much on it, because I know you don't. That's not your personal. That's not. I know. Yeah, I know.
I've known in as far as Jabari, I've known Jabari for a real long time. I've never heard him say this is exactly how they did it in Kemet. Now, granted, Jabari is older than me, so
Right.
so he'll have maybe some convictions, that I may have gone past, maybe.
Right.
But he's a good researcher.
Right.
But for example, watch this. Let's take one of my teachers, Dr. Ketty Alma. However, she'll still have convictions on certain points that I don't agree with because of newer research. But I'm not going to call her pseudo, because of a conviction that she holds. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Or chastise her. That's not my style. I don't do that because it doesn't work.
I get you. I get it.
All right, I'm gonna jump off here, man.
All right, y'all.
Jump on.
All right, Ace and Jay, I appreciate you coming through for real, bro. I'm gonna call you up later on the week or something else so we can wrap, yo. Appreciate you coming for real. All right.
All right, brother.
Thanks.